And for the automakers involved in the series, the race that determines local bragging rights for the next 12 months. There, Ron Fellows, driving the blue number 4 Mustang, delivered the mail for Henry's namesake, setting up potentially the best year Ford has seen in road racing in quite some time. A quick look at the season to date clearly shows Ford is back, and back with a vengeance, posting victories at 3 of the first 4 1994 meetings. In spite of Ford's dominance, though, it's a bow tie that carries the current series point leader, Scott Pruitt. But one has to remember Tom Kendall was penalized 16 points subsequent to his win in Mid-Ohio for overly aggressive driving. Well, that penalty's under appeal. The whole thing will be decided one way or the other at Des Moines during the upcoming 4th of July weekend. Today, though, the Trans Am Series finds itself in the shadow of spectacular Mount Hood and the 1.95-mile 12-turn circuit that is the Portland International Raceway, welcoming the fastest collection of road racing stock cars to ever compete in the Great Northwest. Hi again, everyone. I'm Rick Benjamin. Great to have you with us for the 1994 SCCA Trans Am Tour Round 5 here at Portland today. We've come almost 2,400 miles in the last couple of weeks, beginning a long sojourn for these cars and drivers and teams. In fact, they'll traverse 2 nations. They'll go across 20 states, 2 Canadian provinces. 6 races coming up in the next 8 weeks, proving conclusively that Trans Am is absolutely the right name for the oldest professional road racing championship in North America. Good fortune certainly plays a big part in racing. We've talked about that. We're going to talk more about it today. This season has been wild. Dame Fortune has smiled and frowned. Alternatively, Vegas oddsmakers would have trouble explaining what's going on. We wanted to get the thoughts of some of today's drivers on that.
What we're going to see for the end of the year is hardcore, wheel-to-wheel, fender-to-fender racing. Ford against Chevrolet. They still got us covered by a little bit, but we're working hard, and it's going to be rock and roll at the end of the year.
Well, the first half of the season has shown us that the only thing predictable is it's going to be wildly unpredictable. And add to that the Ford-Chevy battle, which is always hot, is reaching a fevered pitch right about now. I think the top 3 guys in the points are the guys who are going to decide it for the championship. You've got Scott, who has nothing to lose and probably a lot to prove this year. You've got Ron, who really wants to win his first championship, and I'm here for nothing but to win. So it's going to get a lot wilder before it gets any more calm.
It's going to be a tough battle, there's no question. If you look at the standings the way they sit now, I think those are the drivers that are going to be fighting it out right to the very end. Myself, my teammate Dorsey, Scott Pruitt, Jack Baldwin, Tommy Kendall, Paul Gentilozzi. I mean, you just got to look at the standings right now, and that's where it's going to be.
Well, at one point or another so far this year, everybody in the front 5 has had hard feelings for the other guy. A lot of bad things are going to happen as the year goes on, but I'm going to be the nice guy. We're going to hit our stride as the season progresses. We're going to gain the experience necessary to win, and we're going to let everybody else hurt each other, and we're going to be there at the end.
The rest of this season is going to be a war, no question about that. Ford versus Chevrolet. Ford won this in 1989, and I won it, and I'm going to win it again. We're going to win this thing, Ford #1.
Put it all together, and it's pretty clear everyone, especially the drivers, really think the championship is pretty much up for grabs at this point. Now, as we've already mentioned, the participating manufacturers also have their own championship battle. As you can clearly see, it's just as hotly contested. For more on that, we're welcoming a new member of our broadcast crew today, standing in for Bill Adam. Glad to have with us the 1983 Trans Am Series champion. Here's David Hobbs.
Since the late 60s, the Trans Am Championship has been one of the most popular with race fans across North America. And not just for the drivers involved, but for the manufacturers too. Back then we had George Foreman and Pinelli Jones winning in Ford Mustangs. Mark Donohue was a multiple winner in Camaro, owned and operated by Roger Penske. Yeah, the same Roger Penske that's still racing today. But always the message has been, win on Sunday, sell on Monday. And in fact, Camaro attribute about 70,000 unit sales a year to racing, as do Mustang, similar sort of figures, and both of them this year are nearly 100% up already year to date. Back in 1983, I won the championship in a Chevrolet Camaro, and 2 of the drivers I raced against are still involved in the championship today, and still with the same manufacturers they were involved with then. Greg Pickett for Chevrolet, and Tom Gloy for
Ford and Chevrolet. Ford and Chevrolet is just competition. I mean, that's the reason for the whole Trans Am Series. It's the basis of our existence. It's the basis of why there's an SCCA Trans Am. Ford wants to beat Chevrolet every day. They want to beat them in sales. They want to beat them on the racetrack. They want to beat them in image. So that's why we race. We've got a brand new model here. We're introducing it to the public. First year for that car. we want to beat the Chevrolet. They introduced their car last year, and they cleaned up on our old model, but they're not going to this year.
Well, you know, Tommy's probably right about that. There is no question that with the last 3 years, when Chevrolets won the championship and really dominated on the racetrack, Ford went to work. They've done a great job. They've worked real hard, and so far this year, they've kind of kicked us around a little bit. But we've gone back to work, too. Chevrolet's gone back to work. We're just as committed as ever. We've got that baton, and we're not ready to pass it off to Ford or anybody else yet. So that real rivalry that's real, it's in the showroom, and it's slopped over on the racetrack. And I'm telling you, the war's on here between Ford and Chevrolet.
Well, earlier we talked about Dame Fortune, Lady Luck, such a critical element in the success of any racing effort. The third member of our broadcast team is standing by with a driver who some might say has really gotten on the wrong side of that elusive mistress with some of his most recent efforts behind the wheel. Chris McClure standing by with Boris Said. Chris?
They're about to strap in here at Portland and get this 100-miler underway. This is the car of Boris Said, number 22, one of the young drivers in Trans Am in 1994, and he certainly caught the eye of a whole bunch of folks around the paddock and the pits. A couple of opportunities along the way to get on the podium, but they've slipped away. Bad luck, particularly at Mossport.
Yeah, Mossport, the Eagle One Ford Mustang was running great, and running in third with 2 laps to go, the car in front of me blew its motor. So we all went off in the oil, and that was just bad luck.
Bad luck indeed, but at Detroit, a little more than bad luck. You had some help.
Yeah, in Detroit again, I mean, I felt great because we were running really good again for Eagle One, Ford Mustang, and somebody behind me got a little over anxious, spun me out, 2 corners to go again, so a little more bad luck.
You figure it's about to turn for you?
I think so. You know, racing is like a roller coaster. There's good luck and bad luck, and I feel happy with the way things are going. I think the luck will come around my way.
More bad luck to report as a footnote. In Le Mans, in a Corvette, Boris Said's team led for 10 hours. Then it got away when one of the European drivers stayed out a little too long and ran out of fuel.
Bad luck indeed. Boris Said, though, try to make his own luck. A solo effort, of course. He'll be driving alone today in the Trans Am. We'll let you know how he does. 5th round of competition in the 1994 SCCA Trans Am Championship, being brought to you by the all-new Ford Mustang. It is what it was, and more. We'll be back to Portland International Raceway in just a moment.
The all-new Ford Mustang. It is what it was, and more.
It's a major breakthrough in auto protectant technology. Formula 2001 Super Protectant. It provides a more brilliant, longer-lasting shine than Armor All on vinyl and leather. And look, in the Arizona desert, Formula 2001 brought back the shine to UV-faded vinyl, rubber, even leather. Get the new standard in automotive protectant technology. Formula 2001, with 50% more active shining ingredients than Armor All. Get Formula 2001 products today.
The great drivers, Donahue, Jones, Fulmer, the classic pony cars, Camaro, Mustang, Javelin. Only the Trans Am series featured all of these American legends of motorsport. And now, for the first time ever, it all comes together on video in the history of the Trans Am series 1966 to 1992.
Trans Am racing in those days was very, very exciting, both for competitors as well as the spectators.
This is the Trans Am series. This is the most competitive road racing series in North America.
Packed with historic film and photos, the history of the Trans Am series video chronicles the series from the beginnings in 1966 to the championship battle of 1992. Candid interviews with Roger Penske, Dan Gurney, David Hobbs, Parnelli Jones, and many others make this a must for any racing enthusiast. Get your own copy of the history of the Trans Am series video for only $29.95 by calling 1-800-727-6689. That's 1-800-727-6689, or send check or money order to the address on your screen.
And we're Welcome back at Portland. Today's starting grid, 27 cars will take the green flag, 12 of them Ford Mustangs, 13 Chevrolet Camaros, 1 Olds Cutlass, 1 Pontiac Trans Am. Now, each of the entries in the field is driven by a skilled, experienced driver, able to answer the challenge that is Trans Am racing. In reality, many of these pilots don't have a great chance of ever standing atop the podium, but much like their counterparts in the Olympics, they're here to compete, to take part. Chris McClure has more on that side of today's event.
Well, in just about any racing grid, there are a number of runners who have not yet tasted the sweet nectar of victory. Perhaps they never will, but they keep on trying. Bill Saunders has been at it for a while in Trans Am racing. And, Bill, you're in the fight a lot. You haven't gotten to the podium yet. What brings you back, really?
Well, Chris, we've won in other classes, and this is our second year in Trans Am, and we've made a lot of strides this year. And, you know, it's like anything else. You come out here to win. You expect that you can, and that's what we're going to try to do.
We're not going to.
Perhaps the first one today. Bill Saunders with Highway Master, and that is a communication service for the trucking industry. He owns the business, owns a Dallas advertising agency, a Monday through Friday businessman, but he is still much more than just a club racer. So is R.J. Valentine from Braintree, Massachusetts. In the Pennzoil car, he's a little further back than Bill Saunders. Won't be long, and he'll have his 200th Trans Am race. And again, RJ, we wonder, it's been such a struggle for you in many instances, but after Detroit, when you were running in the top 10, so excited. There's motivation, but there has to be more.
Well, basically, as a businessman and running the Trans Am series, you're right. Detroit was a highlight for me. The reason I enjoy it so much is because it's similar to business. There's a lot of planning, teamwork, attention to detail, and a lot of it's the company you keep. This year I'm with Greg Pickett and Dave King from the Pickett stables, and the car's set up properly. I get my regiment under control. I got great sponsorship from Pennzoil. It's just a great feeling. And let me tell you, I've never had so much fun in all my life.
Good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Well, they're more than club racers. As I mentioned, they're not full-time pros, but they're competitive.
Let's take a look at the starting lineup for today's round 5 of the 1994 SCCA Trans Am Series here at Portland. Your Bestas Pole Award winner, Ron Fellows, winner at Detroit 2 weeks ago, alongside two-time winner this year, car number 11, Tom Kendall. Second row on the inside, the 01 driven by Scott Pruitt, alongside the 92 Series champion, Jack Baldwin, in the Hot Wheels number 1. Third row on the inside, Tommy Archer in one of the Shell Zone Mustangs, and on the outside, the Ray Bestas Mustang of Dorsey Schrader. Fourth row on the inside, rookie contender Boris Said. That's the Eagle 1 Ford from the Gloy Racing Stables. And outside, young Robbie Buell, former Indy Lights champion. Row 5, one of the other Archer brothers entries. This is Bobby Archer in car number 9, a Mustang. And on the outside, one of the Chevrolet's strongest drivers in car number 28. That's Paul Gentilozzi. Rest of the starting lineup looks like this. Row 6 has Greg Pickett from Alamo, California, in his Rain-X Chevrolet, and young Jamie Gallus from Albuquerque, New Mexico, in the Entrepreneur Magazine Chevrolet. 7th row, Michael Berg out of Downey, California. Michael Lewis in car number 42. That's a Ford Mustang. The 8th row, Bill Saunders. We met him a moment ago out of Dallas, and Ray Kong, 38 years old, in one of the SunSource cars. 9th row, John Gooding in a Mustang. Tim McAdam in a Camaro out of the Rocket Sports stable. 10th row, Rick McCormick and Brian Richards. Row 11, we met R.J. Valentine earlier. Alongside will be Ken Peterson in the Acer Computers Camaro. In the 12th row, Bruce Barkaloo, another computer magnate, and Eric Wells. Row 13, Brian Simo back in the series, first start of the season. And Pierre Guyan in the only Oldsmobile in the field today. And starting in 27th position, scheduled to go out of Laverne, California, Bob Patch in the only Pontiac in the show today. Thousands of horsepower only moments away from announcing their presence to the huge crowd here at Portland. We'll be back.
Robert De Niro directs and stars in the critically acclaimed film about a boy growing up on the mean streets, A Bronx Tale. Sexy Sherry Shattuck stars in a taut erotic thriller about a lover's double cross in the tradition of Alfred Hitchcock, Dead On. When the classroom gets out of control, this teacher uses a deadly discipline. Pray he doesn't get tenure. Class of 1999-2, The Substitute.
For small-town feeling and big savings, visit the many shops nestled in Acton's Santiago Square. Antelope Valley commuters now have an easier way to take care of their postal needs. Mail Movers is a quick stop off the 14 freeway and features fax services, shipping and packing, UPS, FedEx, DHL, copies, and more. Now there's no need to wait at the post office. Mail Movers is the commuter's postal center. Take the 14 freeway to the Santiago Road off-ramp in nearby Acton, Santiago Square.
The AVP Tour stops at the new home of the Los Angeles Rams, Baltimore, Maryland. Come see Georgia Frontiere, get a facial in the front row. Tuesday, 8 p.m. on Prime Ticket.
Welcome back to Portland International Raceway, the site of round 5 of the 1994 SCCA Trans Am Championship. The Portland Trans Am Classic about to get started here. We've had great racing in the first 4 events of this series, and today's event ought to be just as strong, if not stronger. Some overcast skies that these drivers are going to be taking the green flag under when we get going here in just a few moments. We walk up alongside the car of Ron Fellows. David Hobbs, great to have you with us today. We saw Ron Fellows come really into victory at Detroit in the very last stages of that race. He had a great battle with Scott Pruitt.
Yeah, the whole championship series so far has been tremendous racing. We've had a lot of incidents. We saw some there where Dorsey Schrader got tipped out of the lead, and Boris said we had the incident at Mid-Ohio just a few weeks back between Ron Fellows and Tommy Kendall, and I think this afternoon it's going to be no different because it's a long run down to the Fiesta turn here, and we're going to see a lot of outbraking and scrabbling around going into their first time round. I'm absolutely sure of it. And it brings back great memories for me here too, because the last time I was here for a Trans Am race, I was in it and I led for a long way and made a pit stop and eventually came fourth. And it was a day just like today.
As is so common here with the weather in the Pacific Northwest at this time of the year. Overcast skies, temperature, a very, very comfortable day here today, and these drivers will certainly enjoy doing battle here. Quite a race course they're going to be competing on. 1.95 miles, a dozen turns. We sent Chris McClure out to take you around the course.
Show cars are out demonstrating this very tricky Portland course to a lot of interested parties. This perhaps the trickiest part of them all. It's called the Festival Turn, a right-left, right-hand complex. The first 3 turns on the course. The approach here is 155 miles an hour. Some go down to first gear, some to second. There's not unanimity in what to use through here, but there is unanimity in the notion that you can't take Trans Am cars through this complex 2 abreast. So they have to sort out very quickly, or there'll be a big traffic jam. Probably can't win the race here, could lose it here with a mistake, though a year ago, the defining moment came right over there when Ron Fellows bumped into the back of Scott Sharp. Sharp went off from the lead, finished 10th. Fellows went on to win the race. Short burst of speed, up to 4th gear. Then a right-hand arc takes you through the next 2 corners. Left tire is very important here. The left-hander that follows is again critical, especially at the beginning of the race, because if right side tires aren't warm, you're off into the grass. That could happen in the first few laps. Passing zone between this turn and the next, you can use it, but really the next turn on the right hand is the most important part to set up the back of the race course. 2,500 feet of pavement lie ahead. Exit speed here sets up the straightaway and the passing zone at the other end. When you get to the other end, you're doing 160 miles an hour. If you get by someone on the left-hander may not be available to you, and you might give the position right back. Then you go left, right, right. The next 3 turns to complete the 12 turns that are this course. The last of those is very critical as well, because again, it sets up a straightaway and the eventual passing zone at the other end of the straightaway, the braking into the festival. Good decisions are required. Tire management is required, and everyone must be on their toes or they'll be all over this real estate.
Certainly a lot of challenges these drivers will face. David Hobbs, as we're out on the pace laps now. Who do you like in today's event?
I like his good decisions are going to be required. These are Trans Am drivers, Chris. How do you think good decisions? Let's be serious for a minute. Who do I like today? Well, gosh, I don't know. You know, look at the field here. They're so close together, and the championship itself is close together. Tommy Kendall looks pretty good to me because, just to be awkward, he's never won a race here at Portland in a Trans Am. He's won lots of races here before, but not a Trans Am, so I'm going to go for Tommy Kendall.
Chris McClure, who looks good to you today?
I think we're going to go deep in the field to find a winner. Things have a habit of changing dramatically up front, surprising a lot of folks. Dorsey Schrader showed me a couple of years ago a near-perfect drive here in sedans, although it was a different series. I like the way he handles the racetrack, manages his tires. I'll take Dorsey today.
Two strong contenders, to be sure. It'd be Dorsey's first win of the year. I'm going to go, well, not out on a limb at all, really. I like Scott Pruitt. I think Pruitt knows what it takes to get around here. He's got one of the fastest horses to ride today. We'll find out just who has the best steed of all and the best driving plan here at Portland International Raceway when we continue for round 5 of the SCCA Trans Am Championship on Prime.
We're not sure why you love your car. Perhaps for its looks, the way it performs, its effect on others. At Eagle One, we know how you feel. Eagle One Car Care products for people who love their cars as much as we do.
Bowling is some people's idea of fun. Now, truck bowling, that's when things can get real interesting. But to do it right, you gotta have one of these. A 1994 Ford Ranger 4x4.
Getting ready to get a start today at Portland, the Trans Am Classic, the 5th round of the series for 1994. And we've seen 3 drivers go to victory lane in the first 4 events. Scott Pruitt, Tommy Kendall twice, Ron Fellows. Here are some of the things that have happened. This is the 307th Trans Am round in SCCA history, the 18th race here at the Portland International Raceway. Closest finish more than 10 years ago, 12 years ago, in fact, 30 hundredths of a second. Ron Fellows, the defending champion here. We showed you a little bit of video earlier where Fellows had a little skirmish with Scott Sharp and then went on to win, not unlike what happened at Mid-Ohio a few weeks ago when Fellows was the one who was pushed off the racetrack and Tommy Kendall went on to win. So there are a lot of factors here. And David Hobbs, one of the things I'm taken by as we go in car with Scott Pruitt, how narrow this course is in some places.
It's narrow in all the right places, and of course it does put a lot of strain on the drivers as they go down to that Fiesta. Fellows getting a good jump there on Tommy Kendall as the green flag is waved.
And we are underway at Portland, and here's Jack Baldwin going 3 abreast. Kendall to the outside. Fellows may have missed a shift there. And it looks like it will not be a start. Little contact into the first corner, and the start is waved off. No green flag appearing.
The front seemed to be okay. The front drivers seem to be okay. The starter maybe wasn't very happy with somebody towards the middle or the back of the field. Fellows did take a bit of a jump. Jack Baldwin seemed to get around Tommy Kendall, but I thought it looked fairly good as they crossed the line. Maybe not.
As we see Kendall on the throttle now, this race will most likely, this lap will most likely be scored, even though it's under caution. We're coming now to what we assumed would be the green. There you see Fellows on the inside and the blue Mustang accelerating away, and kind of a ragged start. There goes Baldwin to the outside.
Yeah, Scott Pruitt and Baldwin weren't lined up anymore, and I don't know whether that was why they did it. One never knows with starters, does one?
No, certainly in this case. That is
like
that
if you remember the Indianapolis 500 just a few weeks ago, the biggest race in the world, was the most ragged start I've ever seen anywhere.
Heavy criticism of that start for the IndyCar Series and the flagman for USAC, and hopefully we'll get the cars lined up 2 by 2 here as we take a look.
This is on that long back straightaway, and of course the thing about the back straight here, of course, is it's not straight. It curves very surreptitiously to the right with that wall on the inside, so you're very badly sighted down that, all the way down that long back straight as you come into this S here, which is a pretty important part of the track to get right, because this right-hander here that they're right into now is the most critical corner on the course. You've got to come off there well to try and pass people going into the Fiesta complex. Now the field does look messed up to me now.
Fellows again very slow through the gearbox down under the Goodyear Bridge, and again no green flag this time. No.
Can't say I'm surprised that time. Oh well, any luck, we'll be here for 4 or 5 hours as they do this.
Now Ron Fellows is the pole sitter, and normally it is the pole sitter's prerogative to set the pace coming down. He obviously has been unhappy with the drivers who are trying to get started. We'll sort it out for you when we come back. To Portland, the SCCA Trans Am Series on the racetrack. We have not as yet taken a green flag today. We've tried to come down for a start twice. The field hasn't been lined up correctly either time. Maybe the third time will be the charm.
Maybe it better be. Like you say, it's pretty narrow there, and to keep in line going around that long right-hander, this looks a little bit better.
Fellows again on the inside, the pole sitter, pace setter. Looks pretty good this time. Here's the green flag, and we're underway for the Portland Trans Am Classic, and Fellows off the green flag down into turn 1. Pruitt right behind him in second. Kendall, Baldwin, Dorsey Schrader, Robbie Buell, and a host of others.
Kendall was on the outside going through that left-hander there. We don't know what happened to him. There's number 7. That's for Valentine's car. Whoa, a real traffic jam there.
We do. We have the 42 car and the 77 in some trouble. Eric Wells in the 77 car. The 42, Mike Lewis, out of San Diego, stopping on the course there in the first couple of corners. Ron Fellows takes advantage. He scoots away to about a 5-car length advantage over Tommy Kendall here in the first lap. Now, the first 2 are being scored, even though they were run under caution, so they come off the lap count today. But our first green flag lap as we look at Tommy Kendall, who's won twice so far this year. A little bobble there.
Yeah, quite a bobble. And this is one of the things that these guys have got to watch, of course, is the tire wear, especially on the left rear. As you can see, this circuit is predominantly right-handed. Even the back straight here puts a lot of heat into that left rear tire in particular, braking hard from the left-right flick here at the end of the straight. Everybody uses all that curve, both sides, and come down into the last right-hander. And as I say, this is the one that you've really got to come off here at a good shot. Get a good shot off that one. Again, tough on that left rear tire.
Main straightaway, 2,500 feet long. We were looking out of the car of Scott Pruitt. He is third, chasing Tommy Kendall. Everyone following the Detroit winner, Ron Fellows, in the blue 4 car. There's Kendall in second, the black and green car. The orange Royal Oak Camaro of Pruitt sitting third. Jack Baldwin, his teammate, the Hot Wheels car, in 4th spot. Paul Gentilozzi off course down the main straightaway. Gentilozzi just missed the corner completely.
Now, the thought they would have held him there till the field had gone through. There you see a great shot of Scott Pruitt in the 01 car, and the great color schemes. I'll tell you what, these Trans Am cars have really got some tremendously wild color schemes this year, and Tommy Kendall really under some pressure now from Scott Pruitt.
Kendall and Pruitt, of course, no strangers to very close battles. They've gone at it very close racing all season long so far. Baldwin right there, too, in car number 1. He is 4th of the racetrack. Dorsey Schrader right behind him, 5th, as we look at the 92 Trans Am champion out of Georgia, Jack Baldwin, and one of the Buzz McCall Chevrolets. There's young Tom Kendall. He's running 2nd. 3rd is Pruitt right there, and that's a great race for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th spot.
Well, Pruitt and Tommy Kendall are probably holding each other up just ever so slightly, which, of course, is great for Jack Baldwin, and is also great for Dorsey Schrader in the blue car. Behind Baldwin there.
Schrader and Robbie Buell duking it out for 5th spot. Meantime, Baldwin trying to get up and take a run at the 2nd and 3rd place cars. That's allowed Fellows, your leader in car number 4, to take off. Fellows has opened up 10 or 12 car lengths. Now Robbie Buell to the inside, down into turn 1, trying to get by Dorsey Schrader. Had to grab the brakes at the last one.
A lot of blue smoke there off that tire. Locked up. He still had the brakes hard on as he started the swing right. That, of course, took all the weight off the inside wheels and left a trail of smoke behind him. Needs to be careful not to flat spot the tires, especially too early in the race. Otherwise, it's most uncomfortable for the rest. Pruitt there right up on the curve as they go through this back stretch here.
If you're new to Trans Am racing, these races are only 100 miles long. You can't pit. If you have to make a pit stop, especially under green, you have no chance to win. So you need to take care of your tires, really manage your car.
You do have to, and especially here, because out of the 12 corners here, 8 are right-handers and only 4 are left. And the left-handers are really quick little flicks. All the right-handers are the long, hard corners, and they put a tremendous amount of heat into those left side tires. And of course, it depends how you've got the car set up, whether it's the left front or the left rear that takes the real caning. But with these cars with a solid rear axle, really it's the left rear tire that you've got to preserve.
Most everyone going with fairly hard tire choices here today, too, knowing that in the temperatures that are close to 80, as we get a look at Paul Gentilozzi now. He missed the first corner on that previous lap, had to go through the cones where the chicane is, the right, left, right, first 3 corners here, had to sit and then go right back onto the course. Let's find out more about Gentilozzi's situation. Here's Chris McClure.
Well, that was a long way from where his team sits in the pits. They did not see it happen. They did not hear from Paul Gentilozzi. He just privately continued on. Lee White, the team manager, relaying that to us. In terms of tire combination, you were talking about a lot of people out on harder tires. Gentilozzi has 4 600s all the way around, and perhaps the heat wasn't quite in them.
Locking up on the inside again. Of course, those are the harder compound towers. Now, the other thing that's happened this afternoon is the sun was out this morning and over the lunchtime period, and just a moment before this race started, it has clouded over considerably. Temperatures drop. The track temperature will drop a lot, and maybe Ron Fellows, I know Ron Fellows has got 3 pretty soft tires on his car and 1 hard one, the left rear. Maybe it's going to work out right for him.
Gentilozzi sitting in 12th position right now after a couple of bobbles. That one off-course excursion, and then a moment ago you saw him bobble to the outside of the course. One of the great drivers, though, in this series out of Michigan, the owner of Rocket Sports Racing. We take you back up on the rooftop with Scott Pruitt sitting in 3rd spot. He is chasing in 2nd place Tommy Kendall down the main straightaway. straightaway. Fellows, your leader. Baldwin and Dorsey Schrader round out the top 5. Second 5 looks like this. Buell, Tommy Archer, Boris Said, and Bobby Archer. Greg Pickett rounding out the top 10. We're at Portland. Round 5 of the SCCA Trans Am Championship on Prime. We'll be back.
Mustang. It is what it was, and more.
We're not sure why you love your car. Perhaps for its looks, the way it performs, its effect on others. At Eagle One, we know how you feel. Eagle One Car Care products for people who love their cars as much as we do.
Someone's coming. The Emperor of mankind. With a plan to destroy the world. Activate the bomb. Now only one force. Did you think you'd get away with it? Stands in his way. Did you think I wouldn't know? Alec Baldwin, John Lone. The Shadow. Rated PG-13. Starts Friday at theaters everywhere.
There are a lot of things on our label that I'm really proud of. I'm proud of the name Coors on there, sure. And I'm also proud of the fact that we use all natural ingredients. What I really like best is down there where it says where we come from. A little town in a valley that my great-grandfather rode into 120 years ago.
Back at Portland, Scott Pruitt taking you for a 160-mile-an-hour trip down the main straightaway here at Portland International Raceway. Pruitt down into turn number 1, chasing Tommy Kendall up over the berm. Back left-handed for you. This is the chicane part of the course, down to turn 3 now. And back out onto the straightaway portion of the racetrack. Meantime, down into turn 1, a little further in the pack, John Gooding. And there's the 30 automobile of Brian Richards spinning. Richards right in traffic there, gets the car refired with a backfire out of the exhaust. Bruce Barkaloo knocks down a cone in the 71 car. Barkaloo continues, Richards refires, and we take you back to the front. Your leader, Ron Fellows, looking to make it 2 straight in the Trans Am Championship. David Hobbs Fellows is long gone at this point.
He certainly is, and the more these guys have this tremendous battle amongst themselves, the further he's going to pull away. Scooting down that long backstretch into the SCCA, using right over the curb both sides there. Car looking good, I must say. It went through there looking very good. Here we see the deal again as John Gooding comes down the inside in the Mountain Dew car. And the Instaflame car certainly lives up to its name when he tries to refire it right here.
Looked as though maybe his brakes are a little out of balance or something?
He got too much on the back by the lock of things. Look, obviously the weight transfers to the front. On braking, the backs get light, and if you've got too much brake on them, round you go. But on these cars, you can always adjust it.
Adjustable brakes, part of the cockpit controls that these drivers have available. Again, we're looking down from the rooftop of the Royal Oak Camaro wheeled by Scott Pruitt here at Portland. Tommy Kendall directly ahead in second spot. Everyone chasing the leader, Fellows. This is the battle for 4th place. Jack Baldwin, the 92 champion. Past series champion Dorsey Schrader and the blue number 12 Mustang right behind him. Those two drivers really putting on a whale of a show here.
Tremendous. And there, and the other blue and red and white car behind them is Robbie Buell, trying to make his mark for the first time in Trans Am. This is his first year in Trans Am. A previous Barber Saab champion, Indy Lights driver, and found himself a good home in Trans Am. And look at the way these guys are racing amongst themselves.
Buell in 6th, he qualified 8th. He's moved up 2 spots. Chris McClure's on pit road.
Number 42, Michael Lewis out of San Diego, California, got in that tangle right after we finally did get the green flag, broken tie rod in the front. He's all done. The 77 car, Eric Wells, was also involved in that. He stayed out a couple of laps, but now has a steering problem. There's moisture and fluid leaking from the front. They're trying to patch that up. They hope to get him back into competition, but right now it's a long repair.
couple of the drivers who helped make the Trans Am Series such an exciting series. 27 cars starting today. We see some front nose cone damage to Jack Baldwin's automobile and a lot of brake smoke down into turn 1.
Boy, now that did flat spot that right front. Now I tell you, from now on he's got shake, severe shake to the wheel. That was a big lock up there.
Baldwin really searching for the combination this year. He's been off the pace just about everywhere. 7th in the point standings coming into today's event, but really hasn't been in contention for victory at all so far this year. His teammate Pruitt in the 0-1 car has 1 victory under his belt this year. As we take a look at Pruitt running along in 3rd spot. Your leader Fellows, Kendall, the black and green car. Great battle though for 4th. We look at it once again. Dorsey, Schrader, and Baldwin. Baldwin holding up Schrader and Robbie Buell, you have to figure at this point.
Absolutely, and that right front tire of his is taking some real stick. He'll be through to the cords on that before long, and we're only about 8 or 9 laps into this race.
52 laps our distance here today, just over 100 miles, and we're working lap number 10 at this point. Baldwin still holding the advantage there in that battle for 4th spot. He's got Schrader right behind. Buell trailing 2. 3 cars under a blanket battling for 4th, 5th, and 6th positions here at Portland International Raceway. Buell is quite a story. He's from Michigan, driver who started the season in the IndyCar ranks. Lost his ride in Indy cars, moved into Trans Am with the Roush team, really learning how you do this, how you drive these heavier cars, these sedan-bodied cars. With all your experience, David, this is a big difference as he passes Dorsey Schrader.
Does a great pass there, and it is a huge difference, and it's taken him a few laps to get used to it, but I always say that a good driver is a good driver, and obviously if we go way back 30 years, you look at Parnelli Jones, who of course won the Indy 500 and won the Trans Am Championship. So Robbie Buell, once he gets used to the feel of these cars and the extra weight, of course, when you come out of those light single-seated, you can't believe how long it takes to stop these.
But a race driver,
they don't have the grip.
A race driver is a race driver,
exactly,
as you were saying. And Robbie Buell may be one of America's best young race drivers. Chris McClure had the opportunity to find out about Buell's career.
The opportunity to run for a team like Roush Racing, one of the tops in the business, is one that's anticipated by a lot of folks, but few get the opportunity. But Robbie Buell in 1994 has been able to do just that. He won the Barber Saab Championship in the past. In 1992, the Indy Lights Championship, and now in the sedans full-time. His 3rd race in Trans Am racing. And Robbie, I have to ask you to begin with, how's the transition?
Well, it's different. As you can tell, there's a lot happening here. There's a lot of space versus a single-seater that you have just a little cockpit, and that's all you have around you. Plus, it's just a totally different car. It weighs 2,700 pounds versus a Formula car that weighs, 1,000 pounds to 1,500 pounds. So it's a new learning curve, but a couple more races I should have it figured out.
Are you enjoying the exercise?
Oh, it's great. The Roush team is excellent, and I know every time I get in the car, they're going to give me the best they can.
Well, they've certainly given him a great piece of equipment today. He has just sawed off Jack Baldwin and moved ahead into 4th spot. Young Robbie Buell in car number 14 doing a great job moving over from the Indy cars to the Trans Am Championship here in 1994. Working lap 13 of 52. Ron Fellows lead 3.2 seconds as he bids to be a back-to-back winner. He won this event a year ago, also coming off that great win in Detroit 2 weeks ago. We take you topside to look at the cars heading down along the river here in Portland, down the long back straightaway. David Hobbs, this is a place that you were saying was so critical to get into that corner.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you don't want. Those, the 3, the white and the 2 blue cars there, were held up by that red car going into the S's. That could have been drastic for them.
Ron Fellows, Kendall, Pruitt, Buell, and Baldwin, your top 5 at Portland. Back with more in a moment.
If you're crazy about cars, you'll be crazy for Automania. Automania is the Autobuff's headquarters and the only ones like it in the Valley. Automania has racing stuff from NASCAR to Indy to Formula One, and it's the official home of the Jack Baldwin Fan Club. Cruisers will love the selection of old car memorabilia, from old car ads to posters and artwork. Automania carries current issues of your favorite and sometimes hard to find racing and collector car magazines. There's a lot of high-performance car stuff packed into one little place at Automania behind the dairy on 50th Street West and Avenue in Fort Hill. Gear up at Automania.
Robert De Niro directs and stars in the critically acclaimed film about a boy growing up on the mean streets, A Bronx Tale. Sexy Sherry Shattuck stars in a taut erotic thriller about a lover's double cross in the tradition of Alfred Hitchcock, Dead On. When the classroom gets out of control, this teacher uses a deadly discipline. Pray he doesn't get tenure. Class of 1999-2, The Substitute.
Hi, I'm Mike Piazza, but now you all know my SportsCenter fantasy.
The Press Box, now that's reality. Check it out every night at 10 p.m.
Welcome back to Portland, the SCCA Trans Am Championship on Prime. Rick Benjamin, David Hobbs, Chris McClure with you. Great battle for 9th place, David. We have the 9 car, Bobby Archer, one of the Mustangs, the Highwaymaster car, and Greg Pickett in his Cytomax Rain-X, car number 6. They've been going at it nose to tail for several laps.
Yeah, they're having a tremendous race, and of course, both these drivers, Bobby Archer and Greg Pickett, tremendously experienced in sedan cars of all sorts. Bobby Archer used to race those trucks a long time ago. Greg Pickett there getting the thing out of shape. And, of course, I raced against Greg Pickett in this championship back in 1983, and he'd already been at it 4 or 5 years then. So you could say that he's a veteran driver. In fact, almost vintage.
He's almost got as much experience as you do, I think.
Not
safe to
quite. No, look at him smiling away there.
California.
Not smiling now.
No, not at all, because he's not able to get by Bobby Archer for that 9th position. But Pickett, a former series champion, he's won many of these races and really looking for some great finishes this year in that car. He was very much in the hunt at Detroit a couple of weeks ago. Likes those tight street courses, but always enjoys coming back to Portland as well, does Greg Pickett.
A great driver, too. He's had some tremendous, mainly driven this type of car, Trans Am, over his entire career. I don't think he's done any open wheel driving, and he has always just got the best, wrung the best out of this type of car. There you see him in his number 6. That's a very familiar number for him.
What makes these cars so entertaining to drive? I know you've driven in this series, been its champion. What's so much fun about these cars?
Well, I think one of the keys to any exciting car to watch, either to drive or to watch, is to make sure it hasn't got a lot of grip. And these guys don't have what I call a high grip car, like a GTP car, an IMSA, or an Indy car, or a Formula 1 car. These have very little aerodynamic help. In fact, most of these cars with a production-shaped bodywork, in fact, inclined to have lift. There we see Jack Baldwin's got a severe hole in his hood, which won't be helping any of his aerodynamics. Mainly the aerodynamics of a straight line speed, so you don't have a lot of grip, so they slide around, and it makes them good fun to drive. And of course, the engine is in the front, and the wheels are driven through the back, the proper way that God made cars to be driven.
It's a stock car for all intents and purposes. We're watching the battle for 5th spot. Jack Baldwin in the white and blue number 1, the blue number 12, the Mustang of Dorsey Schrader. They've both been passed by Robbie Buell in the last couple of laps. The Ford mid-race recap today. 15 laps into the event. Ron Fellows has led from the drop of the green flag. The fast lap, 94, nearly 0.7 of a mile an hour. No full course yellows as yet, although we had those 2 yellow laps at the outset, but we couldn't get the field lined up properly for the green flag. Baldwin continuing to lead over Dorsey Schrader as they race for 5th position here. Your leader continues to be Fellows. Now, this is the car of Ken Peterson, the Acer Computer Chevrolet. He loses it in the S's, and everybody manages to get by, but a close call.
Boy, that was a real close call, I tell you. Because when a car is spinning, you know, a driver usually aims for it, and you can sort of count on when you get there, it's gone. But it doesn't always work.
Not always the case.
No.
Well, Ken Peterson out of California making his first start of the season in that number 25 car. Spinning, getting back underway, and rejoining the field at the rear. We continue to watch the battle for 5th. Baldwin in the white 1 car holds the spot right now over Dorsey Schrader, past series champion in that Ray Bestis Mustang. Talked to Dorsey earlier before the drop of the green flag as we look at Jack Baldwin's season resume. A 4th to open the year at Miami, his best finish so far this year. Baldwin, a guy who really wants to get on track, as does Dorsey Schrader. Schrader told us he thought he had the car right where he wanted it today.
Yeah, but because racing is kind of like that to you. The track conditions have obviously changed significantly since this morning because of the drop in temperature. This clouding over has certainly changed track conditions. And of course, you know how your car feels, and you think you've got the whole thing cracked, but of course you don't really know how the other guys are. And obviously, if they all improve at the same time, you find yourself still out on a limb.
We watch the battle now for 7th and 8th. That's the other Archer brothers car, the 3 of Tommy Archer, and young Boris Said in car number 22, sitting in 8th spot, the Eagle 1 Mustang. Boris has had some good runs early on here this year. Tried Le Mans a couple of weeks ago for the first time, did he? And we'll hear a little more about that later on. But Boris Said, one of the young up-and-coming drivers. Schrader to the inside of Baldwin, takes a look, can't get the pass.
No, it's a do-or-die effort here as Boris Said goes down the inside of Tommy Archer there. Boris actually was nearly my choice for a win in this race. Of course, obviously he could yet. There's a long way to go. But Boris Said has done a tremendous amount of sedan car driving at a sort of club and super club level. And boy, oh boy, he certainly shone in this Trans Am series and has done some great racing in Germany last year. He did some racing over there with Greaves Callaway and had a lot of experience. And I think he's going to make this season come good for him.
A young young up-and-coming driver, the kind of driver that's moving into the Trans Am Series more and more and more. This series becoming well-known indeed as a great launching pad for careers, and many drivers just making a great career out of this form of road racing, the premier road racing championship in North America. Boris Said chasing Tommy Archer as they continue to battle it out for 7th spot. We're at Portland International Raceway, 5th round of the 94 SCCA Trans Am Championship here on Prime. Again, the battle for 5th. Dorsey Schrader trying to get around Jack Baldwin. Robbie Buell directly ahead in 4th spot. Ron Fellows, we're told, his lead starting to shrink up just a little bit over Tommy Kendall. Meantime, we take you down the main straightaway. There's Baldwin with that wrinkled nose cone. Dorsey takes a look underneath as they get ready to turn hard right into turn 1. Baldwin with that brake smoke again.
Baldwin looking very Bobby there. Moved to the inside to block Dorsey, and then of course had to move back, and all that moving around he lost a bit of balance in his car and locked up the backs again. There he goes again. Boy, oh boy, he must have that many flat spots. That car must be vibrating.
Dorsey Schrader trying to work Baldwin over and get by him. Baldwin holding on to 5th spot. Fellows your leader over Kendall and Pruitt, Buell and Baldwin. We're at Portland for the SCCA Trans Am Championship. Dorsey Schrader is 6th. Tommy Archer and Boris Said, Greg Pickett, Bobby Archer, your 10th place driver. We'll be back at Portland in a moment.
For 15 years, Harry Tasker's been leading a double life.
Hi, it's Helen. Is he in? Harry's in a sales meeting, Mrs. Tasker.
He's protected the country. He's faced the enemy. But when his wife finds out,
Harry,
who's going to protect him? Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jamie Lee Curtis, in a James Cameron film.
What can I say? I'm a spy.
True Lies. Rated R. Starts Friday, July 15th at theaters everywhere.
Hey, soccer fans, the World Cup is on its way, and to celebrate this historic event, McDonald's presents the World Cup Madness Sweepstakes. You could be the grand prize winner of 2 tickets to the finals of the World Cup in Pasadena, transportation to and from the event, a set of McDonald's World Cup team pins, and more. Other winners get tickets to World Cup qualifying games at the Rose Bowl, McDonald's World Cup soccer balls, or other merchandise. To enter, mail a postcard with your name, address, age, and daytime phone number to McDonald's World Cup Madness Sweepstakes, Post Office Box 8361, Calabasas, California 91372. Winners must be at least 18 years of age and a resident of California. Ticket winners will be drawn weekly. The grand prize winner will be announced on the July 10th edition of Press Box. All entries must be in by July 3rd, hand-printed and submitted separately. Get your kicks. Enter the McDonald's World Cup Sweepstakes today.
Welcome back to Portland International Raceway, 5th round of the SCCA Trans Am Championship, the Portland Classic. Great racing going on out on this racetrack today, 1.95 miles. Dorsey Schrader and Jack Baldwin into turn 1. They have had their own private war going all race.
Absolutely, and if old Dorsey Schrader can just pluck up the courage when old Jack's got the car there cocked up with the tail cocked up in the air, hard on the brakes, if Dorsey could just pluck up the courage to get that spoiler of his under the back of the car, he could nerf him out of the way and take over that point, because I think the Baldwin is undoubtedly holding him up. Of course, Jack Baldwin and I go back a long way. We raced together in 1988, 89 in the Peerless GTP car in IMSA. We were teammates there for a few drives, and I really enjoyed working with Jack. And he's a dedicated guy, and he really wants to do well. I mean, he is really, really dedicated. Lost a tremendous amount of weight, you know, a few years back, and works out like crazy, and he's fit, and he just wants to get out there and win. And of course, this year is doing incredibly well in the International Racer Championship.
Has a good chance of being the IROC champion coming up in a couple of weeks at Michigan. He is 5th, Dorsey is 6th. A couple of guys really who are 2 bulldogs. They're 2 of the nicer drivers you could ever want to meet, and they really, really take this game very, very seriously. They love to compete, and they love to battle with one another. And at the moment, Baldwin holds the upper hand in that battle for 5th and 6th place. We take you all the way down the main straightaway. Again, here's Baldwin, and here's Dorsey to the inside into turn 1. And Dorsey gets by him. No! Baldwin back by him.
Well,
both of them having braking troubles.
Dorsey did the same old deal. He try and outbrake somebody, and he goes wide, and you're in too tight, and you can't come off the corner quick enough because you pinched it going in. Plus, he lost momentum when he locked up his brakes as well. So, a good toing and froing here. Meanwhile, of course, it's great for Robbie Buell, who is gradually pulling away from them in that other car. Here we see Robbie Buell right in the front of the screen. Dorsey Schrader goes down the inside. Baldwin leaves him plenty of room, but then locks it all up there and cuts it too tight, and the position's back where it was.
Looked like Dorsey Dorsey had him cleanly. What could have happened to the car at that point to allow Baldwin to scoot back underneath?
Well, he pitched it too tight into the corner, so he didn't have the right angle of approach, and he locked his brakes up too and lost momentum. Probably had to go down another gear. Well, I think they're going to there in first anyway. Gets alongside Baldwin. He's going to try it here, is he?
Down the back straightaway. It looked like Dorsey was going to take a peek inside there, but decides not to do it into the S's.
Not a good spot. Trust me, Rick. Trust me, not a good spot.
I have ultimate faith in your calling ability, your ability to put your Swami cap on and tell us what's going to happen here. Back to the front straightaway. Still, Dorsey Schrader chasing Jack Baldwin. Here's where it happened last time, down into turn 1.
Yeah, not close enough this time. He didn't stay in his draft dedicated enough. And that really, that shot there gives you an idea of what I've been saying at times, that turn 12, how important it is. If you're going to try and administer the old coup de grace to somebody, you've got to come off 12 right with him, use the draft, and nail him.
To the inside?
Right, nail him on the inside. Assuming of course they don't block it for you. Baldwin left him plenty of room the last time.
It does happen that way sometimes. We take a look back. Morris said in the Eagle 1 car out of McLoy Racing Ford stables, a couple of spots further back.
So he's got around Tommy Archer, in fact, in the red car there. So that means he was being held up, I guess, by Tommy. So now he's put quite a bit of daylight between himself and Tommy Archer, and he's in 7th spot. Now he wants to try and cover some ground and get up with that battling group that we've been watching.
The Dorsey Schrader Jack Baldwin battle for 5th and 6th. Morris said at the moment being shown in 7th. We're getting toward the midpoint of the race here today at Portland. So these drivers are pretty much in position, I think, where they know they need to use whatever they have in their automobile.
Yeah, and they can feel what's going away and what's not going away. He too locked his tires up there in the middle of the turn 12 corner there. I'm not sure it's a front or a rear, but here we're back to the race. Now this is the other thing, of course, that plays either for you or horribly against you, and that is lap traffic. You know, you can sometimes get a huge... It did not go well for Robbie Buell on that, and allowed Baldwin and Dorsey Schrader to catch him up, and he's still being held up by that slower car as they go into the complex. If he's behind him going in, he's in deep trouble.
And we take a look at one of the drivers we introduced you to at the outset of the broadcast. R.J. Valentine from Massachusetts is Pennzoil Chevrolet, the number 7. Back in 20th spot, but R.J., one of the drivers who is there every week, loves to race in this series, has excellent equipment out of the great Pickett shops this year. One of the privateers who really makes this sport so enjoyable for us, and we know for you, too, at home as well. R.J. Valentine's Pennzoil Performax Chevrolet up onto the main straightaway here at Portland International Raceway. This must be an awfully difficult course, David, for one other big reason. You've got 2 long straightaways, some very tight turns. You need a lot of brake here.
You need 3 things. Ooh, hood coming off the number 30 car there that we saw spin earlier. You need power, too, down these long straightaways, because you've got to be able to stay with the guy if you're going to outbrake him in the end. Then, as you say, of course, you need a lot of brake. And the other thing you need is to make sure that your car's set up good so that you don't run the tires off it, because it's predominantly right-handed.
We're working lap 23 as Morris said moves by. There's the 8 car, the Bill Saunders automobile. He, the owner of Highway Master out of the Archer Brothers stables. We talked to Bill also before we got underway today. He'd had success in some of the SCCA's club racing classes, as he told us. Decided to try the Trans Am last year. Loves it thoroughly and has really shown a lot of improvement as a race driver. A 13th at Miami to open up the season. His best effort so far as Bill Saunders blasts down the back straightaway here at Portland International Raceway. This is the part of the course that David was talking about where it's not really a straightaway. The drivers race it as a straightaway full out, but the road has a little bend in it, so it makes it all the more challenging. We take you up top to take a look at this beautiful circuit here at Portland. Ron Fellows is your leader over Pruitt and Kendall. Buell and Baldwin. We're coming up to halfway. Dorsey Schrader, Boris said, Tommy Archer, Pickett, and Gentilozzi rounding out the top 10.
We've won more races in the history of Trans Am. We've won more races in the history of NASCAR. Fact is, we've won more races over the last 30 years than any other automotive company. Have a nice day.
The great drivers, Donahue, Jones, Fulmer, the classic pony cars, Camaro, Mustang, Javelin. Only the Trans Am Series featured all of these American legends of motorsport. And now, for the first time ever, it all comes together on video in the history of the Trans Am Series 1966 to 1992.
Trans Am racing in those days was was very, very exciting, both for the competitors as well as the spectators.
This is the Trans Am Series. This is the most competitive road racing series in North America.
Packed with historic film and photos, the history of the Trans Am Series video chronicles the series from the beginnings in 1966 to the championship battle of 1992. Candid interviews with Roger Penske, Dan Gurney, David Hobbs, Parnelli Jones, and many others make this a must for any racing enthusiast. Get your own copy of the history of the Trans Am Series video for only $29.95 by calling 1-800-727-6689. That's 1-800-727-6689, or send check or money order to the address on your screen.
Don't dump in the storm drains. The beach is closer than you think. To help, call 1-800-HEAL-BAY.
Back at Portland International Raceway, Scott Pruitt up through the gearbox in the Royal Oak Chevrolet, currently in second spot. Pruitt, who we thought had things well in hand 2 weeks ago at Detroit, had tire problems, had to give up the victory. One of the strong contenders today. And the Blockbuster Blimp providing us these beautiful on-high pictures for you at Portland International Raceway, part of the Blimp's 94 tour through the western U.S. Welcoming the Blockbuster Video Blimp and its crew to our broadcast here this afternoon at Portland. Down the main straightaway, this very, very difficult chicane, this right, left, right, David. It's a different surface. They made this out of concrete. What sort of challenge does that present to the driver?
Well, it certainly is a difference between the grip on asphalt and the grip on concrete. There's no doubt about it. You can't do much to set the car up for it, but you just have to be ready for it when you do hit it.
Ron Fellows is having no trouble with the change in pavement. He moves out onto the main straightaway, blasts by our camera right on the main straightaway there. You can see him moving up on R.J. Valentine's car. Fellows with about a 3-second lead over Pruitt. We can see Kendall just funneling out onto the main straightaway. Fellows, a driver who you know had plenty of incentive today. Thought he had victory at hand at Mid-Ohio. Had that contact with Kendall in the last lap. Lost the race. Came back at Detroit to win 2 weeks ago. Wants to make it 2 straight here at Portland. He's got a short straightaway advantage over the battle for second spot between Pruitt. You see Pruitt there in the orange car, who's got another 10 or 12 car lengths over Tommy Kendall, who won at Miami and who won at Mid-Ohio. 2 of the first 4 to the Kendall camp. But so far, Kendall has had nothing at all for Pruitt or Fellows, and we're not too far from halfway. Now, these races are so short, David Hobbs, you really can't hold back, can you?
No. And, you know, they always ask you what the strategy is going to be. I mean, there really is no strategy. It's a flat-out blind. Here we come out of that back straight. Now, as you can see what I mean about not being straight, and of course that wall and those trees make it a poor sighting zone as well, and they're about 155 into the left. He'll go right above this first curve and clip this one, get himself way over to the left now. That's the pit entry there. So you have a good sling, to have a good wide exit off this one here to come off with the absolute maximum momentum. Don't want to miss a shift there.
Pruitt, as we come toward halfway of today's Portland Trans Am Classic, Pruitt up to high gear and down toward turn 1. You see him grab down to third and then second there. Make that right-hand corner. We're inside the automobile of Scott Pruitt, who's doing IndyCar testing. Had a year in the IndyCar Series, did very well, wants to go back there next year, but right now he wants to be the Trans Am champion. Paul Gentilozzi with another miscue. Gentilozzi off the course, spins the tires at turn 6.
Yeah, Paul Gentilozzi not having a good day. He was running in 10th spot, so that's probably dropped him down at least another 1 or 2 spots. That, of course, was that final turn. That's pretty important. Yeah, we're back on board there as well. There was Pruitt again.
Pruitt running in second spot. We said 6. Actually, that would have been turn 12, where Gentilozzi got crossed up and had to get back on the gas. Gentilozzi told us at the start today that he thought he could win. He thought some of these other drivers might take each other out. That would leave him a clear path to go. But so far, he's been the driver who's had more trouble. Let's take a look back, see what happened to the Michigan driver this time.
Whoa, coming there into turn 12, loses it on the approach, on that quick approach. You're braking and turning right there at the same time, getting it down into 3rd gear for most of these guys. They have a good shot off 12, and obviously just slightly overdid it. It looks to me like he's got too much brake on the back of that car. Now, they do have an onboard brake adjuster, but it could be that it's not working. Sometimes they do give up.
Gentilozzi with 2 spins so far today, but as David mentioned, sitting in 10th position, one of the strong campaigners, driving his own Rocket Sports chassis car that they brought out toward the end of last year. Gentilozzi, a many-time winner in this series and a strong IMSA contender for many, many years as well. But a very, very interesting campaigner in the Trans Am Series as we watch him work through the back part of the race course here. Paul Gentilozzi in his Rocket Sports Camaro, the Z28 car, moving down the backside of the race course here at at Portland. Gentilozzi trying to gain ground and move back into contention for the victory here. Gentilozzi is a guy with a wide range of business and racing experience. Chris McClure talked to him earlier.
When you drop in on the Trans Am paddock and look up the Paul Gentilozzi team, you find a very sophisticated team that handles two good race cars. They've developed their own chassis for the 1994 season, and they're led by Paul Gentilozzi, a successful real estate man in Lansing, Michigan, who's won 3 races in his Trans Am career. Earlier this year, won the 24 Hours at Daytona, and most recently competed at Le Mans, an honor in and of itself. But I think, Paul, unlike Daytona, Le Mans just didn't turn out the way you'd hoped.
Well, it's unfortunate that the best racing experience I've ever had in my career ended. We had a fire on the morning warm-up on race day and really burned the body off the car 4 hours before the race. The crew was able to get the car back together, and we did start the race, so I can say I raced at Le Mans, but unfortunately it burned a little wiring harness piece, and we had to withdraw for a few hours.
So were you able to compensate by enjoying the ambiance of Europe?
Oh, I got an extra day at the Louvre. No matter what they say, people in Paris are some of the friendliest people in the world, and it was a racing experience I'll never forget.
Paul Gentilozzi may not forget his experience here at Portland today either. He's a great guy. Always fun to spend time with Gentilozzi, but not having the kind of afternoon he would have hoped for.
Not really, as he brakes, and again, locking up those rear brakes. I think he's probably got a problem adjusting his balance.
Gentilozzi back at around 12th spot. We're just past halfway. Still Ron Fellows your leader over Pruitt and Kendall, Baldwin and Dorsey Schrader. We'll be back.
Chevy Camaro. What else would you expect from the country that invented rock and roll?
Polish a whole car in about half the time with new Turtle Wax Instant Foam and Shine, the first foaming car polish. It's so much easier. With ordinary polish, you have to wipe, wait, and rub. With new Instant Foam and Shine, you just foam and shine. A mirror-like shine with long-lasting Turtle Wax protection. It's never been easier or faster. So why wait? Polish your car in about half the time with new Turtle Wax Instant Foam and Shine.
Shift into gear with On Track Magazine, the auto racing magazine of record. No matter what kind of racing you're into, you'll find it covered in the pages of On Track. So subscribe today and save 45% off the newsstand price. That's right, 1 full year of the finest in world racing coverage for just $29.97. Just call 1-800-228-0787. That's 1-800-228-0787. Shift into gear. Ride with the winner, On Track Magazine.
We've won more races in the history of Trans Am. We've won more races in the history of NASCAR. Fact is, we've won more races over the last 30 years than any other automotive company. Have a nice day.
And we are back at Portland. Today's coverage of the 1994 SCCA Trans Am Tour brought to you by Chevrolet. One car company has won more races over the last 30 years than anyone else. Genuine Chevrolet. Scott Pruitt moving by the 30 car. We're up on the roof. Pruitt going inside to make that pass. One car off the course. This looks like one of the SunSource Chevrolets, and that car is on fire. The onboard extinguisher has come on in that car.
Boy, well and truly on fire, and it was on fire before it went left the track and took him into the guardrail there.
Now that was one of the SunSource cars. That's either Ray Kong in the 87 car, or perhaps the other SunSource automobile, the 99 of Rick McCormick. I didn't see the number when the car went by. I recognized the paint scheme. That car's on fire.
I don't see any action from any fire people. They're standing just right there the other side of the guardrail, and everybody just sort of looking at it.
Black smoke billowing out of the car, the SunSource automobile. We're told it is the 99 automobile. Rick McCormick from Redding, California. Flames out of the right-hand side of the car. Looks like McCormick is out of the car. We can see him there on the ground. I believe that's Rick McCormick. He does not look to be feeling very well at all, although he's got his hands inside his mask. Looks as though he dove out of the car all right. The car going up in flames.
Well, of course, he'd have a lot of smoke inhalation, and of course, it's all the wrong sort of smoke. Fiberglass, rubber,
carbon fiber,
all those nasty chemical fires. And I still don't see any action at all on anybody to try and put it out.
Doesn't look like anyone had a fire bottle on the car at all. Rick McCormick out of the car. We can report that now. Here's a fireman finally, apparently, finding a fire bottle and a fire hose. That car is going to be a total loss if they don't hurry. Now, finally, after many seconds, a fire bottle being turned on the Rick McCormick Chevrolet, the 99, the SunSource car. That's one of the Gentilozzi stable cars, by the way. The pace car coming out, we believe a full course caution will be the order of the day here at Portland International Raceway. The car of Rick McCormick catching fire coming through the S's, and McCormick bailing out. The car went into the guardrail. The onboard extinguishers came on just fine, but it didn't put the fire out. That car is going to be heavily damaged again. We saw McCormick out of the vehicle. He appeared to be okay. In fact, David, it looked as though he wanted to run to the car at one point. We'll come back and sort all of this out for you in Portland in just a few moments as we see Rick McCormick happily walking up the hill. Fellows leading. We're under caution at Portland. We'll be back.
Seductive sex therapist Claire Archer returns for more interpersonal analysis. Morgan Fairchild, Andrew Stevens, Sherry Shattuck. Body Chemistry 3. When the classroom gets out of control, this teacher uses a deadly discipline. Pray he doesn't get tenure. Class of 1999 2, The Substitute. 5 guys, 100 women, and 1,000 dinosaurs. Roger Corman presents Dinosaur Island.
Catch the RV excitement at Young's RV in Lancaster. This weekend, Young's RV is having a giant sale on all our new 1994 Itasca motorhomes. You'll never get a better deal. Come see why Consumer Digest chose the Itasca Sunrise as the best buy in a Class A motorhome. Happening now only at Young's RV Center, Avenue I and the 14 freeway. So easy to find.
Get 1,000 miles from nowhere. Come to Young's RV.
Don't dump in the storm drains. The beach is closer than you think. To help, call 1-800-HEAL-BAY.
Welcome back to Portland International Raceway. The car of Rick McCormick against the guardrail. And as you can see, heavily damaged. Well, I guess we'd call it destroyed by fire. There's McCormick out of the car safely. The fire and safety workers giving him some oxygen on the hillside there. McCormick bailed out of that flaming car. That car is out of the Paul Gentilozzi Rocket Sports stables. He'd had problems earlier. Chris McClure watched as Gentilozzi brought his car to the pits.
Paul Gentilozzi, who was off a couple of laps ago, takes advantage of the yellow, and he comes in for left side tires. They're also able to clear the debris out of the radiator pickups in front. He's been carrying it around for 3 or 4 laps, and no temperature problems. He's back on the track.
So of the 4 Rocket Sports cars, 3 still in competition, but the Rick McCormick automobile a write-off. And good news indeed that McCormick is feeling better. Chris McClure pit side with McCormick's crew chief.
Tom Culbreth is his name, and Tom, you were telling me he was about to come in. He was aware of the problem.
Yeah, a fire had started around the right side door where the muffler area is there, and he didn't quite make it in there. He got out of the car okay, though.
And that's the good news.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. They knew about the fire. They just couldn't get back and address it soon enough, fellas.
They're going to have their work cut out for them on that crew to put a car under McCormick for next week when we go to Des Moines for the Rouen Grand Prix of Greater Des Moines on the 4th of July. We'll have that one for you live here on Prime. There's the McCormick automobile. We're under caution, and we're going to take you back through the field, show you what's going on here as we take a look at the Chevrolet mid-race report. The first 20 fellows who's led all the way: Pruitt and Kendall, Baldwin, and Dorsey Schrader rounding out the top 5. Some great battles going on there. Then Boris Said. You see Tommy Archer, Greg Pickett, and Bobby Archer. Mike Berg, who qualified very strongly here this weekend, up to 10th. Berg, a privateer. Good story there indeed. And the second 10 at the moment. John Gooding and Tim McAdam, one of the other Rocket Sports cars. Robbie Buell, who slipped back. We were told he went off the course earlier. Jed Losey and Bill Saunders. We met him earlier in the broadcast today. Buell had been up to 4th at one point, back to 13th spot. That's Ray Kong and Brian Richards, who had that spin earlier. R.J. Valentine, Bruce Barkaloo, and Pierre Guyan rounding out the top 20 here at Portland today. 5th event of the 94 season. David Hobbs, first Trans Am you've seen in a while. Great racing so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, it's particularly sad for Robbie Buell. I think his engine's gone off song. It sounds rough to me, and he was being overtaken by all sorts of cars here on the front straightaway. So I think Robbie's day is done, in effect. And I tell you what, I just can't believe that heads aren't going to roll on that fire incident, because nobody took any notice at all.
Took a long time to get to Rick McCormick. We'll sort it out. Be back for the green flag in a moment.
TV shows you what happens in racing every weekend. But where can you go for really authoritative behind-the-scenes information? There's only one source, Racer Magazine. Every month, Racer brings you the art, the science, and the people who make racing the world's most exciting and colorful sport. And we do it like no other magazine, with the best writers, complete racing TV schedules, and stunning full-color photography. There's only one Racer. And if you order now, you can get 12 issues of Racer for only $23.97. That's $6 off our basic subscription rate. Call 800-403-4999 now. And with your paid order, you'll also receive this quality Racer T-shirt at no extra charge. That's just $2 per issue for America's best-looking and most informative racing magazine. Now is the time to subscribe to Racer. It's just a phone call away, and your satisfaction is guaranteed. Call 800-403-4999 today to order your subscription and free T-shirt. There's only one Racer.
You want to be champions? Then play like champions. You got to be relentless. You got to be clever. You've got speed. Use it.
One car company has won more races in the history of NASCAR.
Winning isn't everything. It's the only thing.
Genuine Chevrolet.
Hi, I'm Mike Piazza, but now you all know my Sports Center fantasy. The Press Box, now that's reality. Check it out every night at 10 p.m.
Back in Portland, final stages of the 1994 SCCA Trans Am Series Round 5 today, the Portland Trans Am Classic on Prime. We told you earlier about Greg Pickett in the Rain-X Cytomax Camaro. That's car number 6. Pickett, a longtime campaigner, past Trans Am champion. Well, he's got one of the newest pieces of equipment, the brand new Riley Scott chassis for 1995. Chris McClure has more on that new development.
There is a certain commonality in the Trans Am paddock in that most of the contending teams ride on Riley Scott chassis, and those chassis have remained relatively stable in terms of design since 1991. But this is a brand new Riley Scott chassis acquired just recently from George Robinson by Greg Pickett's team. It's the most sophisticated of the Riley Scotts out here, and it has a lot of new development pieces on it. Now, underneath here, there is some sort of a new brake package, and the rear end geometry has been changed. But obviously, with the covers on it, they don't want to tell us exactly what that is. Not just yet. Up front, it's a very similar situation. Underneath this tarp, there's new geometry for the front end, a new front engine package, and a new updated cooling system setup. And again, the details of that are still very, very secret. At the end of 1994, all of these pieces will be available to teams if they want to do an update, and most of these pieces will be incorporated into the 1995 package.
Well, the Riley Scott, pretty much the predominant chassis manufacturer. Of course, Weaver Racing also supplies many of the chassis, but you've got some teams that build their own, like the Roush team cars, and of course the Rocket Sports team of Paul Gentilozzi. There's Greg Pickett in that brand new 95 Riley Scott configuration. Is that a really trick piece, David Hobbs?
Well, I don't know. You know, they have all that stuff hidden away, and it might be a little bit trick, but of course at the moment it doesn't seem to be doing them a tremendous amount of good, because the cars that are out there are going better. But all new stuff, of course, does need a lot of development, and so this is just part of that development process.
35 laps going on the board. We remain under caution. The Rick McCormick incident a few laps ago where the car just caught fire around the exhaust system and caused the car to burn to the ground. McCormick okay. Here's what's coming up on Prime Network for the 1994 Trans Am Championship. Next Monday, we'll be in Des Moines for the Rouen Grand Prix live at 2 o'clock Monday afternoon. July 9th, Saturday, the Cleveland Grand Prix. You'll see it Sunday night at 7:30. The Molson Indy, the weekend of July 16th, will be up there for you. At Three Rivers in Quebec, August the 7th. Watkins Glen International, the Trans Am Tour, August 13th. We go to Road Atlanta, August 28th. You'll see that event Sunday night, that same night at 7:30. Road America in Wisconsin, September 10th. And the season concludes in Dallas with the Grand Prix of Dallas on September 18th. Looking forward to bringing you all the action as the 94 Trans Am Championship season moves across North America. Great racing so far. Ron Fellows bidding for 2 victories in a row following up his Detroit win. He's led all the way so far as we work toward the final 15 laps at Portland. We'll be back.
Here. For tickets and information, call 310-419-3257.
A lot of people think that what I do is extremely crazy. I got into downhilling because of the speed. Going down the mountain with 3 other riders, I think is radical. You got to do it. Downhill mania riding.
Downhill Mania, presented by GT Bicycles, Saturday and Sunday, July 23rd and 24th at Deer Valley Resort in Park City, Utah.
The Boston Bomb Squad. Someone's picking them off one by one.
He's killed 3, he'll go for more.
So why the hell's he after us?
Now the officer who's figured out why
there's no mystery
has become the next target.
Your new wife and daughter just got home.
Jeff Bridges, Tommy Lee Jones.
We gotta get out of here.
We shouldn't have done that.
Blown Away, rated R. Starts Friday at theaters everywhere.
This is why we're under caution at Portland. This is the car of Rick McCormick on fire, sliding across the grass into the guardrail, and there you see it. Big flames, huge fire. The car very badly damaged. McCormick did bail out. He took some oxygen. He is okay. As his crew chief told us, the problem was the exhaust system started to overheat. Chris McClure, how's tire wear shaping up for these teams?
Well, I think the yellow and the cloud cover earlier on is a big break for Ron Fellows up front. He had the most risky setup, in my opinion anyway, with 430 on the front, medium tires, and the right rear, and a hard tire on the left rear. But with the temperatures cool, the cloud cover in the first 2/3 of the race, he wasn't in risk of wearing them out anyway. And now, even if they were wearing, he's cooled them off well. I think it's played into his hands against the others.
We're at lap 36. There'll be 16 to go as we cover out, actually 15 to go. We'll complete 37 next time by, and Fellows has led all the way. This gives Pruitt, though, a good shot at him off this.
Well, it certainly gives him an opportunity, and Tommy Kendall as well. But, of course, what they've all got to be very careful for after a long caution like that is the tires were hot when the caution came out, and they've all picked up a lot of junk on those tires. They won't have much grip going into the Fiesta chicane as it's coming up now. And Tommy Kendall taking the conservative wide line there to get a good shot off it.
Kendall in third, trying to challenge Pruitt, who is second. There's Baldwin right there, 2, 3, and 4 in your picture. Now we move ahead. The battle for second spot. They're all right behind Fellows. Top 3 are very close together. Fellows in the blue 4, Pruitt in the yellow and the orange 0-1, and then Kendall in the black and green car. Fellows still holding as we go topside with Pruitt.
See what I mean about no grip there? Fellows getting all sideways there. These guys have got about a 1/4 inch of rolled up rubber dust and stuck to those tires, which they've got to wear off through these corners.
And they may not have had much of a chance to scrub them off. We didn't see a lot of cars snaking back.
I'll tell you, that won't scrub it off. It never works. I mean, it keeps a bit of heat in there, but not like the real thing.
Well, Ron Fellows plenty hot at the moment as he opens up 5 car lengths over Pruitt. There's Kendall in third. Oh, and Pruitt under braking with some smoke emitting from the back of that car. Maybe just some oil dry. That's where the fire took place.
I think that was just, yeah, exactly, the oil dry from where the car caught fire. As you can see from that shot, he was so nearly back to the pits of that car on fire. Boy, they're going to be really burnt up. No, I tell you.
You're going to need a lot of work to do to get ready for Des Moines next week. Your leader is Pruitt, the blue AER Ford Mustang. Here's Kendall looking outside of Pruitt as they funnel down into turn 1. Pruitt in the 0-1 car in second spot. There's Kendall in third. Kendall with 2 wins this year. Jack Baldwin right behind him in fourth. Baldwin, we had sort of written off earlier. He had problems in the early going, but he soldiered on, come up to fourth spot. He's giving Kendall fits now.
Yeah, that caution period was good for Jack Baldwin. He's actually going extremely fast, considering the front of his car, the hood, has all been bashed up and torn open, which can't be helping his aerodynamics down these long straights here. Must be causing some drag.
And your battle up in front. Scott Pruitt sitting in second spot of the Royal Oak Chevrolet. Right ahead of him, Ron Fellows, who won this race a year ago and won 2 weeks ago at Detroit. Fellows bidding for his second victory of the year. Pruitt also looking for his second win of the 94 SCCA Trans Am campaign. They move out toward the backstretch now. Kendall, third spot in that all-sport Mustang, the black and green number 11 car, trying to move closer to Pruitt now as they move into that left-hand turn.
This is certainly going to be a tough shootout towards the end of this race. Tommy Kendall, both of them hanging on extremely well to Fellows, who had a big lead coming into this caution flag, but these guys are really hanging on now.
Coming up to about 12 laps to go. Fellows, your leader. Chris McClure on pit road.
Chrome, medical doctor who's been in attendance with Rick McCormick. He's still in there. You're out here. Can you bring us up to date?
Yes, his condition is stable. He's doing very well. He should be released in a few minutes. He inhaled a lot of exhaust, so we're giving him some oxygen. And after he clears that, he'll be able to release him. Thank you. You're welcome.
Good news indeed, Chris, about and David, about the condition of Rick McCormick. It's maybe the race driver's worst enemy and scariest moment when you know your car's on fire. Right?
Well, I must say that when I raced, you know, in my young days, fire was always a tremendous danger. In these last few years, it has become such a rarity, really. That was just one of those strange fires. It was set by the hot exhaust, but normally, you know, the old fuel fires, you just don't seem to touch wood, of course, have that sort of problem anymore. And of course, inhalation of, like we said earlier, the smoke off a racing is not the best smoke in the world to inhale.
Not clean by any means. No. If you have to inhale it, you want to get out as quickly as you can. We take you back. Tommy Archer, the Shell Zone Mustang, car number 3 in the hunt, in the thick of things here today, running well up in the top 10. As we take a look at the leaders, there's Baldwin in fourth. Right behind him is Boris Said. Then the Archer car. There's Greg Pickett, one of the other Archer machines, and Dorsey Schrader, who has slipped back. Dorsey Schrader may be running into some problems. Looks like he's back in 8th or 9th position now. He was right up in the top 5 earlier. He's being shown in 8th at the moment as we watch the leaders down into turn 1. There's the first 4. There's Boris Said, the Archer automobile. Then we have the Pickett car, the other Archer car, and there's Dorsey, and he is dropping back quickly. Mike Byrd trying to get underneath, and Byrd spins. Dorsey spins in turn 1, and they come together. Mike Berg in the 21 takes Dorsey Schrader out.
Well, Dorsey was going slowly there and took all the road up that was available, and Mike Berg really had nowhere to go. And Dorsey's obviously got some sort of an engine or car problem because he's running way off the pace, and it sort of behooves him to kind of stay out of the way because he obviously is not going to go anywhere at this stage. Very disappointing for him.
Take you back and show you what happened again. Here's Berg in the red, number 21, to the inside of Dorsey Schrader down into turn 1. Berg started to lose it. He's right alongside Schrader.
Berg's all locked up there. Got a mile of opposite lock on as he blocks up the rear brakes and just slides into poor old Dorsey, thinking, you dork.
Well, Dorsey refired. He's back on the race course, but his bid for victory today goes by the boards, unfortunately, here at Portland. Your leaders funneling out onto the long main straightaway here at Portland International Raceway. It's a drag strip. They drag race on this, and you can tell if you stand at the end of it, it must be a great drag strip. The asphalt very, very tacky. Your first 3. There's the 4 car. Fellows in the lead. The 01 of Pruitt and the 11 of Kendall. Baldwin is 4th. Boris Said is 5th. The Archer automobile in 6th spot. 7th now to Greg Pickett. 8th spot to Tommy Archer. 9th there is Gentilozzi, then Berg and Gooding. We look back at the rest of the field. Chris McClure patrolling pit road for us today here at Portland.
And with Glory Racing engineer Bill Fingerlow in contact with Dorsey out there, a problem.
Yeah, the motor seems to be off a little bit. We've dropped the cylinder or something. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but we don't have enough time to fix it if we stop, so we'll just keep going.
And the story on Dorsey Schrader. Motor goes sour, a little more than 10 laps to go. No point in coming in. Here's how he and Mike Berg got together once again into turn 1.
Ooh, Mike Berg's thinking, don't turn in, don't turn in. Too late. Already done it. Spun him round, bashed up the front of both of them. And, of course, Dorsey, as his crew chief says, is lost. He obviously had a problem there because he dropped right back.
What hurts worse, the damaged fiberglass or the damaged pride?
Well, when you're in a serious race, the damaged pride, both hurt badly. Don't think it's very badly damaged.
Dorsey Schrader soldiering on, though, like the great racer that he is. We're at Portland. Final 10 laps coming up. Fellows your leader over Pruitt. Archer is 6th. We'll be back.
A lot of little touches go into every new Plymouth Neon. A very powerful 132 horsepower engine, a spacious cab-forward interior, dual airbags, and a special Plymouth Neon chip-resistant finish. And oh, there's one more thing. Appeal. Say hello to Plymouth Neon. $94.75 for starters, $13,000 nicely equipped. Highly huggable, low price at your Chrysler Plymouth dealer.
Does your money just seem to come and go? Now, AirTouch Cellular has found a way to reverse the spending process and send your money back to you. Just buy this AirTouch flip phone by Motorola for only $240. When you sign up with AirTouch, you'll get $240 back in bill credits. So the phone has an effective cost of nothing. Save another $50 when you sign up now through June 30th only. Call 1-800-AirTouch. Get your money back.
Cold. It's always meant something special up here. It's in the air we breathe and the water that's all around us. So when people talk about cold filtered draft beer, we just wonder what the fuss is. You see, at Coors, we've been filtering our beer around 32 degrees since gas was 21 cents a gallon. Come to think of it, maybe we should have told you sooner.
Back at Portland, 10 laps to go in the SCCA Trans Am Championship here, round 5 of the 94 SCCA Trans Am Series. Rick Benjamin with David Hobbs and Chris McClure on pit road. Great to have you with us on Prime today. Greg Pickett doing very nicely, well into the top 10. Running along ahead of Bobby Archer right there. You see Pickett in car number 6 being shown at the moment in 7th position. He's got the Archer brothers bracketing him. The 3 car of Tommy Archer directly ahead in 6th. As Pickett, the winner of this event in 1984. It's been 10 years since he visited Victory Lane here, but Greg Pickett is turning in a nice ride today.
Yeah, he's having a good fun, and of course, he has got those development parts that Chris McClure was telling us about earlier. And of course, even if he's not running in the top 3 or 4 today, he's still learning a lot of information for this car, and obviously they can hope to improve on his performance as the year goes on. A lot of races left.
Portland, a good place for Pickett to come to. The last 3 years, he's been in the top 5 all 3 times, a 5th and 2 4ths going back to 1991 as we watch Pickett take his Rain-X car down the main straightaway. This is the car of Mike Berg, the car that came together with Dorsey Schrader. Obviously, the body damage to the front of Berg's car is going to require him to make a pit stop at the very least.
Extremely severe, and I'm sure that he and Dorsey Schrader are going to be discussing this incident at length tonight, and they'll both have a perfectly good reason why it wasn't their fault. It kind of was just one of those racing accidents, but obviously it's had a disastrous effect on the cooling system on his car. You can see it there. No way they can get any water into that car now.
Mike Berg, we alluded to the story earlier. Berg qualified 5th. He had a technical problem. They started him 13th. Chris McClure is in Berg's pit.
Well, a couple of the crew members now throw down their gloves and a couple of rags in disgust. I think they had in mind ripping that hood away and sending him right back out. But once they got the hood off, they realized how badly damaged it was inside, and they have given it up. Mike's coming out. First the helmet. He'll be out in a minute.
Tough break indeed for Mike Berg, who, as we say, put together a great qualifying effort here. His car didn't quite make the ride height spec, so they bumped him back several starting spots, but he was coming up through the field nicely. Final 10 laps in progress. Ron Fellows is your leader at Portland. We'll be back.
Looking to get the most out of summer? You can always depend on Toyota. We got the one you want. And right now at Toyota's We've Got the One You Want sales event, get a low $149 lease on the versatile Toyota 4x2, America's best-selling import compact pickup. New wheels for summer, and you can save on the rugged Toyota 4Runner with special option packages. We got the one. So kick off summer with the truck or 4Runner you want by getting to your Toyota dealer now. This sales event ends soon.
At Duke & Slim's, we sold more TV and appliances to more people than anyone else in the Antelope Valley. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for your support for the last 35 years.
It's our 36th anniversary, but you get the gifts. Come in right away and sign up to win one of our wonderful prizes. We're also featuring tremendous savings on everything in the store. You can't beat this sale. Come on down and celebrate with us. And you know, like the Duke always says,
I am the Duke, but at Duke & Slim's, you're the kid.
Prime Ticket, Sports LA style.
Final few laps of the 1994 Portland Trans Am Classic, the SCCA Trans Am Championship on Prime. Great to have you with us today at Portland International Raceway. Ron Fellows, I didn't think he would do this today, David Hobbs. I thought Fellows would be challenged. He's led all the way from the drop of the green.
Well, I must say that when we were asked to pick a winner, it looked sort of so obvious because he was very, very quick in qualifying. And I think he's lost some of his zip at the end of the race here. And Scott Pruitt is giving him a really hard time. But there's no doubt about it, that Tom Goy Mustang is really, really strong car, using all the highway there. But Scott Pruitt hanging on into the slipstream, trying to get a bit of a draft off this car down into this turn 1 complex.
7 laps to go this time by. This is the battle for 10th spot as we take you back in the field now. John Gooding in car number 16 there. Tim McCormick's car, or rather Tim McAdam, we should say, car number 94. One of the other Rocket Sports Chevrolets right behind Gooding. And then right behind them, it looks like the car of Robbie Buell. Now, Buell had been up as high as 4th earlier. He ran into problems, got knocked back to 14th. This is the battle for 10th, 11th, and 12th. John Gooding in car number 16 there, sitting 10th at the moment.
Yeah, it's a shame about Robbie Buell, because I think if he'd run the way he was running, he'd probably be up to about 3rd spot by now, and he'd certainly be duking it out with Tommy Kendall. But nevertheless, he's giving Tim McCallum a hard run for his money here. Tim and I have known each other for a long time in IMSA racing. He's a good guy, he's a fun guy, and I think he really enjoys his Trans Am racing, especially with the Rocket Sports team, which of course is one of the finest outfits here.
We talked about chassis builders earlier, and the Rocket Sports team, Paul Gentilozzi, came back to the series late last year. They're building their own cars and trying to find the winning combination. They haven't been to victory lane yet, but they think they've made progress and are getting closer. Gooding driving one of the Roush racing cars, the Mountain Dew Mustang there, as we watch the battle for 10th and 11th and 12th. McAdam in the 94 car sitting in 11th spot. Gooding, meanwhile, has opened up a little advantage.
Certainly a great opportunity for John Gooding to drive this car. I mean, not many people get the chance in a lifetime to drive a Roush anything, let alone one of the Roush Mustangs here in Trans Am racing. Of course, Jack Roush, just one of the great all-time Ford tuners, for want of an old-fashioned type of word. And I mean, he's just done everything with Fords, from drags to NASCAR to Formula racing and of course to Trans Am. And just a great opportunity for someone like John Gooding to get a drive in a car like that. And at the moment, these three are having a tremendous scrap.
Battle for 10th, 11th, and 12th. Once again, Gooding in the green Mountain Dew car, the green and white car. Then McAdam in the black Chevrolet, sitting 11th, and Buell in the red, white, and blue Mustang, also out of the Roush shop, in the 12th position. McAdam's best finish of the year up at Mosport several weeks ago, 13th spot in that 94 car. McAdam searching for the combination, I think, in these somewhat heavier cars. Told us earlier he loves the Trans Am Series, his first year in it, but still trying to find the fast way around a lot of these racetracks.
Well, of course, again, he's used to driving those GTP cars. Even in the Camel Lights, of course, they had lots of grip and lots of downforce, and these cars don't have a lot of downforce, and of course, they got a lot more weight. So the polar moment and the centrifugal force all works against you, and it's going to take a bit of getting used to for them.
Cars battling for 10th are on the backside of the course, heading toward the final couple of turns in the main straightaway. 5 laps to go for your leaders here at Portland, and it is still Ron Fellows out in front. 5 remaining here this afternoon at Portland as we watch that battle for 10th and 11th and 12th. We move a little further up, and here's Gentilozzi trying to move to the inside, and he makes the pass on the 9 car of Bobby Archer. So Gentilozzi gains a position in that battle for the spots a little bit further ahead. They're battling it out for 8th, 9th.
Bobby Archer's going pretty strongly for Paul Gentilozzi to catch him up and whistle by like that. That change of tires that we saw earlier on with Chris McClure. Obviously, the Gentilozzi car has really picked up some speed since he did change those tires.
Those new left side tires doing the trick as Gentilozzi does go by Archer without much problem. Greg Pickett directly ahead, and he'll be trying to take 8th away from Pickett here in the last couple of laps, or the final handful of laps here at Portland this afternoon. Ron Fellows and Scott Pruitt out in front, up a little bit further ahead on the road as we we come up on 4 laps to go, but this is a great race a little further back in the pack. There you see the Highway Master number 9 of Bobby Archer. Fellows moving by to put another lap on the board. Gentilozzi right behind the car of Pickett, and then there's Archer, his best finish so far this year. A good 6th at Mid-Ohio, but at Detroit 2 weeks ago, the Archer team cars both crashed hard.
Yeah, had a terrible outing into Detroit. In fact, their luck this year has not been running with their way at all. Of course, the Archer brothers have raced about everything that you've got 4 wheels on it. And of course, the last couple of years, they were heavily involved with the Dodge factory, Chrysler Corporation. And this is a first for them with the Ford Mustangs. And so they're having to do a lot of sorting out. I was speaking to Bobby earlier on, and he said that, well, this car just doesn't need to do anything. I want it to do, and I'm having to learn all about it again and make a lot of changes and keep on changing it. So finding out more this afternoon, I would say he's got some sort of a problem with his engine somehow. He wouldn't normally be running that slow. But look at Gentilozzi winding in Greg Pickett.
Bobby Archer back in 9th spot right now as they battle it out for 7th, 8th, and 9th. Couple of laps to go. Fellows, your leader. We'll be back.
Hey, soccer fans, the World Cup is on its way, and to celebrate this historic event, McDonald's presents the World Cup Madness Sweepstakes. You could be the grand prize winner of 2 tickets to the finals of the World Cup in Pasadena, transportation to and from the event, a set of McDonald's World Cup team pins, and more. Other winners get tickets to World Cup qualifying games at the Rose Bowl, McDonald's World Cup soccer balls, or other merchandise. To enter, mail a postcard with your name, address, age, and daytime phone number to McDonald's World Cup Madness Sweepstakes, Post Office Box 8361, Calabasas, California 91372. Winners must be at least 18 years of age and a resident of California. Ticket winners will be drawn weekly. The grand prize winner will be announced on the July 10th edition of Press Box. All entries must be in by July 3rd, hand-printed and submitted separately. Get your kicks. Enter the McDonald's World Cup Sweepstakes today. Alomar doesn't stop. Salmon's got a gun. Oh, baby, what a throw! Out at third is Alomar.
Welcome back to Portland International Raceway, the 1994 SCCA Trans Am Championship on Prime. Rick Benjamin, David Hobbs, and Chris McClure with you today. Your leader, Ron Fellows. Couple of laps to go. We take you into the Scott Pruitt automobile. Pruitt's been second all afternoon, trying hard to catch up with just a couple of laps to go in Portland as we take you on the roof of that Royal Oak Camaro.
Great corner, that complex there. Now look at Paul Gentilozzi, how he's wound in the 6th car of Greg Pickett, going again through that first corner complex. Now we come up to that double right-hander that we were just looking at from the roof of Scott Pruitt. This is a great double apex corner. Very fast approach, down on the brakes there, probably down a gear for these guys. And a long, 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 long right-hander. I mean, Gentilozzi looked like he went wide there. I think it's just the camera shot.
Greg Pickett running in 7th spot. Gentilozzi is 8th. This is a battle for position on the racetrack. Pickett a little squirrely coming out of that last one.
Well, Pickett's tires, of course, have done 100 miles, or nearly 100 miles, and old Gentilozzi's got new left-side tires, and so he's in good shape tire-wise as they swoop out onto that back stretch. You see the lake there on the inside. No one wants to visit that.
Plenty of guardrail to separate you from the water here at Portland. Meantime, that battle for 7th and 8th rages on. Pickett cutting inside just to block Gentilozzi. It looked as though he thought Gentilozzi was going to try to sneak under him there.
Well, I think the fact remains here that these cars look very evenly matched on the straightaway, but there's no doubt about it that Gentilozzi's car is handling a little bit better. Greg Pickett's car is fishtailing in a number of these corners, and he can certainly hold his own down the straights, both front and back. But Gentilozzi certainly seems to be quicker through the corners and into the corners. Look at that.
Oh, gosh.
Same move as he made before on Bobby Archer. Great move. He comes in there at a big angle, slices inside. They give him a bit of room, and he takes it and whistles by. So look at the way he's pulling away now.
Gentilozzi really making some hay now. He's moved up to 7th spot. You called it perfectly, David. Made a great move in turn 1 there to blow by Pickett, and now directly ahead. He's going to try to move up for 6th. Only a couple of laps to go. We take you back to the 2nd place car. This is the Scott Pruitt automobile. He's been there all afternoon chasing your leader Fellows in the blue Mustang, car number 4, looking for the white flag. This time time around here at Portland International Raceway. This track just under 2 miles in length. Pruitt running second, 1 victory to his credit so far this year. Led most of the way at Detroit 2 weeks ago, but his tires gave up, and that let Fellows get up and eventually make the winning pass just a couple of laps from the end. Looks as though the order of finish may be the same here this afternoon as the white flag flies at Portland. Pruitt trying to chase down Fellows. There's Fellows, your leader, in the AAR Ford Mustang out of the Gloy Racing Shops. He has been the leader the entire way, trying to go flag to flag here today. Right behind him, the 0-1 car of Scott Pruitt. Fellows really has not put a wheel wrong all afternoon.
No, and unless he comes across basically a clutch of cars which they're trying to lap, he's unlikely to make a mistake at this point as we go back inside with Scott Pruitt and see him wielding this car around, a big, heavy car.
But very precise with those steering wheels.
Yes, he's not, the car not sliding around as much as you think it might do.
Robbie Buell, who's had motor problems the last several laps, takes his car pit side. Buell had been as high as 4th earlier in the afternoon, but he's run into problems in the last dozen or 2 laps and really has slipped back off the pace. We were showing him around 20th spot. And Robbie Buell with some problems. Looks like that'll put him out for the rest of the afternoon. We look up top side of Scott Pruitt out onto the main straightaway. Ron Fellows coming down the main straightaway this time. As the passing flag is put out, there's the white flag being shown to your leader Fellows in car number 4. Pruitt in the 0-1 in 2nd spot. Tommy Kendall about a dozen car lengths back in 3rd. They've got a lap car to get by. The 68 automobile, Pierre Gaia, moving out of the way to let Fellows by. But he's going to hold Pruitt up here, I think, as they work through the S's.
He stays pretty much out of the way, but it probably just knocked a little bit of the edge off Pruitt. But in reality, Pruitt has no chance of closing a gap that size in 1 lap.
So all Ron Fellows has to do now is keep the wheels on and keep it on the race course for about 1.5 miles, and he'll be the second. He'll be getting his 2nd victory of the season, winning 2 in a row also here at this racetrack.
Yep, and of course this is the lap where you hear all those noises and think everything's going wrong, and you feel the tires definitely going flat and all the gears are falling out of the gearbox. But you just keep your fingers crossed and make sure that you make the flag. He's onto the back straight now. He's only got 3 corners to go through, really, the S's and the long right-hander onto the front straight, and he should be able to traverse that with no problems.
Ron Fellows wanted retribution after what happened at Mid-Ohio when he led virtually the entire race. You recall the story a few weeks ago. Tommy Kendall and he came together and bunted Fellows out of the way, and he lost the race. He's now on his way to his 2nd straight victory. The checkered flag is waving over Ron Fellows, your winner at Portland International Raceway. Fellows wins 2 in a row in the 1994 SCCA Trans Am Tour. His 2nd straight win at this race course as well. Ron Fellows out of Canada, the winner for the 2nd time in this season. 2nd spot goes to Pruitt. Here's the battle for position. Gentilozzi trying to catch the Archer automobile, the car of Tommy Archer, but Tommy Archer will hold him off. I believe that's for 6th position. Tommy Archer holds Gentilozzi at bay as they go by the checkered flag. Greg Pickett also with a very strong top 10 finish today here at Portland. Your winner is Ron Fellows, waving to the crowd. Fellows certainly with a great drive here today. Scott Pruitt right behind him, accepting the applause of everyone gathered here today to watch these Trans Am cars and stars in action.
Well, we certainly did have the race that we were expecting. Ron Fellows, as you say, he did lead every lap, but on the other hand, he wasn't really an absolute runaway. I mean, there's Tom Gloy, his car owner, and of course I raced against Tom, also driving a Ford then back in 1983. Of course, obviously I beat him pretty easily, but he looks very happy today, and we had a great run there from Paul Gentilozzi towards the end. Boy, he was picking those guys off in another lap, and he would have had Tommy Archer too, I think. So maybe he'd be thinking he wished he'd check, but he couldn't have changed that tire any earlier because he had to do it under the caution to gain the advantage he did. Great run for Ron Fellows. Scott Pruitt again coming 2nd, so this is going to shake the championship up quite a bit, I would imagine, because Ron Fellows will get 30 points for that, plus a point for the pole, plus a point for leading the most laps. So Ron Fellows' points situation will change dramatically today, and Tommy Kendall, who was lying 2nd, will probably slip to 3rd, I would think.
Fellows was 3rd coming into the competition today, and we'll try to show you the points before we leave the air. Fellows makes that left-hand turn, heading toward victory lane here at Portland International Raceway. Ron Fellows, 2 consecutive victories in the 94 season, 2 straight here at Portland as well. When we come back here on Prime, we'll meet the winner of the Portland Trans Am Classic. Stay with us.
Every Plymouth Neon comes with an advanced single overhead cam 16-valve engine, and its 132 high-tech horses should come in mighty handy when you're trying to coax your car onto a freeway. $94.75 for starters, $13,000 nicely equipped. Say hello to Plymouth Neon. Plymouth Neon, Automobile Magazine's Automobile of the Year, now at your Chrysler Plymouth dealer.
We're not sure why you love your car. Perhaps for its looks, the way it performs, its effect on others. At Eagle One, we know how you feel. Eagle One Car Care products for people who love their cars as much as we do.
Shift into gear with On Track Magazine, the auto racing magazine of record. No matter what kind of racing you're into, you'll find it covered in the pages of On Track. So subscribe today and save 45% off the newsstand price. That's right, 1 full year of the finest in world racing coverage for just $29.97. Just call 1-800-228-0787. That's 1-800-228-0787. Shift into gear. Ride with the winner, On Track Magazine.
Behind Plymouth Neon's cab-forward body design is simple. Move some things around. Pull the wheels farther apart, push the windshield forward, and voila. Machinery gets less room, and people get more room. Hey, this calls for a little traveling music. $94.75 for starters, $13,000 nicely equipped. Say hello to Plymouth Neon. Plymouth Neon, Automobile Magazine's Automobile of the Year, now at your Chrysler Plymouth dealer.
Welcome back to Portland. Ron Fellows, your winner today. 5th round of the 94 series. Fellows picks up his 2nd victory. 2 straight for Ron Fellows. He's with Chris McClure.
2 straight indeed. A big smile. Ron Fellows, a winner here last year as well. Ron, you never broke contact with those that were chasing you. I suppose from that sense, it wasn't a totally dominant day, but I don't know that you put a foot wrong.
Well, I'll tell you what, that restart, Scott really put the heat on me. Boy, we'd saved the tires, though. This was the right choice. This is exactly the same tire combination we ran here last year. My hat's off to the Tom Gloy team. This guy right here, Peter Ralphs, this is his last race working for me. We worked together for almost 3 years. He's got to go back home to England for a little bit, but this one's for Peter, and it couldn't have been sweeter. All right, Peter.
Hey, was it a break with the weather, the cloud cover, and so on, because you were soft on 3 corners? I suggested that to Tom Gloy over by the pits. He says the break that came our way on tire selection was Ron Fellows. He's so smooth, and that really does make a difference.
Well, thanks to him. It's, you know, to be smooth, you got to have a car to be able to drive it like that, and the car was absolutely perfect. And thank Goodyear, we did run the soft tires on 3 corners, but they were perfect. I was worried the whole time. But, and particularly on the restart, Scott really put the heat on me, but I went as hard as I could, and that was what we had in the last 10 laps.
Keep this up, you're going to win a championship, you know.
That's the big plan, but we've got a lot of work to do. Scott Pruitt's, he's a handful. His Chevy's quick, but, you know, the Tom Gloy team's hungry, and so am I.
Congratulations.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
A hungry driver indeed, Chris McClure. Ron Fellows taking the victory today. Here's the guy who finished 2nd.
Just walking up, here's Scott Pruitt shaking hands with Tom Gloy, who's now with his driver. He said you got a lot of heat on him on the restart in particular, but just not enough of him.
Just not enough. You know, we're really seeing here where the Fords have really been walking us. Jack and I are the only Chevys in the top 10, and as much as we tried and as hard as I used the Camaro, we just couldn't keep with it. I just got to say thanks to Chevrolet Royal Oak and Power Bar Revo. I mean, we're working as hard as we can, and we're just barely keeping up. But as long as we keep finishing on the podium, we keep sneaking up some more points in the championship, hopefully we can hold on long enough to the end.
But he's got 2 in a row. He's going to bring some heat on you in terms of points. And, you know, Tommy, I mean, there are more than 1, 2, 3, or 4 contenders here.
There is, and, you know, obviously Tommy's won. You know, he's been a real hard charger. Dorse, I can't leave him out of the picture. Ron, you know, obviously Ron with 2 in a row. All we can do is take it 1 race at a time. We're in a, you know, 4 back-to-back weekend stretch, and we came out of here pretty well unscathed, and now on to the next one.
Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you.
Scott Pruitt, second place.
Just a footnote on Peter Ralph's there, the mechanic on Ron Fellows' car. 31 years ago, Peter Ralph's dad was the mechanic on my Formula Junior car in the British Formula Junior Championship.
You know everybody who's ever put a wrench on a race car, I think, David Hobbs. Want to thank the folks at Blockbuster Video, piloting the Blockbuster Video blimp for our event today. Terry Dillard out of Orlando, Florida, providing beautiful pictures for us here at Portland International Raceway today. Great event here this afternoon. Ron Fellows picks up his second consecutive victory in the 1994 SCCA Trans Am Series, but as we've pointed out throughout the afternoon, he had a host of great drivers chasing him all the way. Chris McClure, who else do you have to talk to us?
Well, we got Tom Kendall here. That's the third place finisher. Tommy, you turned it all the way around and got back to third place. That's a day's work in and of itself.
Yeah, again, I made things a little harder on myself than I had to. The only place where I was making it up on Ron was into this fast stuff over here, so I was really concentrating on trying to hustle it in there. And I missed the downshift, and then I got it in the wrong gear, and that locked the rear tires. And I was fortunate to be able to get it going as quick as I could. And fortunately, I didn't take any grass in the radiator. So the car was strong. And just, we were obviously we were a second place car up to that point. Third place, a little bit disappointed, but we're still in the hunt, and we'll try to dig down and get them next week.
Well, after the restart and everything, that helps you out. It gets you back in contact with the front. You never lose contact with the front, but you can't close on it. It's 100 yards away. That's got to be one of the more frustrating kinds of moment.
Well, even when we're right on them, the car is really working well through the tight stuff, and unfortunately, you can't pass people in the middle of the corner. So, we just got to keep digging. I feel we have the best chassis out there. The Roush car is a little bit, I think, superior than those guys through the corners. It's just that it's hard to pass, even, though you're a little bit quicker. So, we'll be back next week in, where are we, Des Moines, I guess.
Yeah. And a long way to go in this championship.
That's for sure. I'm not thinking about the championship too much. I'd rather win a few races and the championship will take care of itself. But, the All-Sport folks and the Smith Tool folks are in for a big ride this year.
Tom Kendall, who finishes third. 2 victories coming into today's event, and it stays that way. Kendall was second in the point chase coming into this afternoon's event at Portland. Some of the folks enjoying the beautiful weather here during Rose Festival month. We'll be back with more on the Trans Am event, but first, this Neon Racing Report brought to you by Plymouth. The SCCA typically holds hundreds of autocross competitions every year. The events occur in parking lots as drivers compete on coned courses, with the winner being determined by his or her combined time compared to other competitors. A unique one-of-a-kind autocross recently held in Belvedere, Illinois, as Chrysler, doing part of its launch of the wildly successful Neon, and SCCA conducted an autocross at the Belvedere Neon manufacturing plant, limited to Chrysler employees who build the Neon. Taking first place honors in the Festive Employee Challenge, an auditor at the plant, Brad Corder. Brad joined his co-workers in finding out firsthand just how well the Neon performs in a competition setting. There you see Brad picking up his victory hardware at the reception after the event. These cars really hustled around this course by these Chrysler employees at the Belvedere plant where the Neon is built.
Well, it was just a matter of correlating my mistakes from the first time around to stand on it a little bit harder the second time and feel comfortable with the turns.
What was Brad's winning strategy? About the experience? Well, I guess we won't hear any more from Brad and his experience, but in any case, here's the way the top 5 stacked up. Ron Fellows, your winner today here at Portland. Scott Pruitt finishes second. Tom Kendall, Jack Baldwin with a great drive. Baldwin had a lot of problems earlier with his braking. They got the car sorted out. Baldwin comes back to grab 4th. And rookie contender Boris Said comes back up and grabs 5th place. Boris was back deep in the top 10 there at one point. Tommy Archer with a nice drive to 6th. Paul Gentilozzi, after that tire change, comes to 7th. Greg Pickett with that 1995 Riley Scott chassis takes 8th today. Bobby Archer with a 9th place finish. Good for the Archers after their terrible outing at Detroit. John Gooding in that Mountain Dew Mustang comes up with a 10th place finish. Tim McAdams soldiers on to 11th. Dorsey Schrader, despite his problems today, gets a 12th. Bill Saunders, the Highway Master magnate, in 13th. Ray Kong, young Jamie Gallus, we didn't hear much from him today. We were expecting good things. He takes home a 15th finish in the Entrepreneur Magazine Chevrolet today. R.J. Valentine checkers in 16th. Bruce Barkaloo grabs 17th. Brian Richards survives his early race spin in car number 30 to come home 18th. Ken Peterson, who also went off course at one point, takes 19th. Brian Simo is 20th. Pierre Guyon, Eric Wells, Robbie Buell, 23rd. He was up as high as 4th earlier before his motor went south. Mike Berg and Rick McCormick in 25th position. The fire victim, Bob Patch, in 26th spot, the unofficial order of finish today. Chris McClure has been busy on pit road for us all afternoon.
Rising star of the race. We talked with him early on about bad luck at a couple of events. Now a clean day and 5th place, Boris said.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, for all the Eagle One people here, the No Fear people, and Tom Gloy Racing, it's a good day. I mean, I told you the luck usually turns around, and finally I'm on the way up, and hopefully it'll stay like that for a while.
Yeah, you're in contact with the front. You feel like you're in the fight. That's got to get the adrenaline going even further. Of course, at Detroit, you ran until late in the race and you in a much the same position. So you're really showing that you're ready for these cars and it's coming to you.
Right. I mean, the depth of the field here, I mean, all these guys are so good. So to run in the top 5, I feel pretty happy with that today. Next week, I'm going to want to run in the top 3, but today it's a good day.
Of course you will. What about the racetracks? Any moments for you? Any close ones?
A few close ones, a lot of locked wheels, and I dropped a couple wheels in the grass now and then, but other than that, I'm here.
So he said with a grin.
That's all in the fun of it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The Ray Bestis rising star of the race, Boris said, and the star of the race, the Flowmaster star of the race, Ron Fellows, your winner in car number 4, talking there with his car owner, Tom Gloy. Fellows out of Canada, great driver. He's really come on strong in the Trans Am Series last couple of years. 2nd consecutive win this year, following up Detroit with a fine victory here today. Here's a look at the championship point standings of the 1994 Trans Am Championship Series. Scott Pruitt, the new point leader, 140 markers after his 2nd place finish today. Kendall and Fellows tied for 2nd spot at 128. Then Gentilozzi and Dorsey Schrader, not quite to the midpoint of the season yet. A lot of racing still to come in this Trans Am Tour, and we'll be bringing it all to you here on Prime. Chris McClure on pit road.
And we're with Tom Gloy, who had a big grin on his face a while ago, still does, with Ron Fellows, twice a winner. I suggested to Ron the line you told me during the late part of the race, that the real break on tire selection was his smoothness, and that was the key to this, wasn't it?
It really was, yeah. Ron, over the last few years, has developed a pattern of driving, and it's allowed us to use softer tires sometimes. Of course, you know, 2 weeks ago at Detroit, we were on the hardest tires in the field, so you've really got to say that it's Ron's driving. It's his ability to keep the tires under the car, use the car as necessary. And, you know, he's really matured. He's really doing a super job for us.
Take me over the last 3 weeks. A bump, disappointment, anger at Mid-Ohio. He comes back. He wins Detroit. He wins Portland. He's now on an official roll. Is it from Mid-Ohio? Was that the catalyst?
I think Mid-Ohio was the catalyst. You know, it was very unfair. He led every lap of that race, really got punted on the last lap. And it has become a catalyst, there's no doubt about it. Certainly we were dominating that race, and we are on a roll, but it's given us some focus. He wants to win really badly, and we're all behind him. We want to win just as well. It's focused the whole team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom Gloy, a happy owner, gentlemen.
Tom Gloy notching another victory here as a former driver, former series champion. You know he has to enjoy this. Let's take a look at the manufacturer's standings. This is really where the war is fought between Ford and Chevrolet. After 5 races, Ford with 43 points, Chevrolet with 35. Scott Pruitt, the only Chevy victory so far, as we take a look back a few moments ago when Ron Fellows took the checkers here at Portland International Raceway and his very, very happy crew at Portland. David Hobbs, it was a pleasure to have you along today. Some great racing still to come in this series.
Absolutely. There's a lot of races to go in the point.
by a very lovely lady here, and this was the first time she'd been involved